Good evening. Welcome to the May 22nd Decennial Committee meeting. I'd like to call to order. Karen, can you do the roll, please?
Trustee Broderick?
Present.
Trustee Bazinski?
Present.
Trustee Harris?
Present.
Trustee Garcia Guillen? Trustee Lee?
Present.
Trustee Mahalik?
Here.
Trustee Morales?
Here.
Trustee Queenie?
Present.
Committee members Ben Stoltz? Oh, let me call Donnie Chestnut first. Present? Okay. Chairman, we have a quorum, and we also have Ben Stoltz, who is virtual.
Yes, I'm here virtually. Thank you.
Thank you. Item C, the Pledge of Allegiance. Trustee Harris, can you lead the pledge?
Glad to.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item D, public comment related to the Decennial Committee meeting. Do we have any public comments?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right, moving on, we are going to get an update from Amy Gray.
Thank you, Chairman Budzinski. Just want to give an update regarding the chair. With Roberto Valadez leaving the institution, I will take over the role as chair of this committee. And I wanted to give a review of the charge of the committee. Public Act 102-1088 requires townships as well as community colleges to get together and to study local efficiencies and report any recommendations that we have for increased accountability. So the general rules are that we have to meet a minimum of 3 times over an 18-month period. We do this once every 10 years. So this is meeting number 2. And at the end, we submit a report to the county board that has any of our recommendations, if there are any. So I looked at our meeting minutes from the last meeting, and it looks like it was an introduction of the committee and what the charge is of the committee. But I think at this meeting, one of the things that we need to do is choose a topic to look at. And so just to help us move it along, I studied and did some research on what other schools are looking at. And things that came up were looking at intergovernmental partnerships, like Oakton College looked at their relationship with the local police department to make sure that they were working efficiently, that they were working in compliance. I looked at Harper College, I looked at Parkland, I looked at Illinois Valley, and one more. Many of them were looking at sustainability and to see if the practices are in line with being a sustainable campus. So I think that there are different topics that we can pick from, and we are advised to pick just one. Look at that, gather data, analyze that data, discuss it, and then submit this report. But I think for this meeting, the one thing we do have to do is pick a topic that we'd like to look at. Some of the other ones were, I believe, Parkland looked at ICCB recognition report just to make sure that we are in compliance. Another school looked at the HLC report at the standards to make sure we were in compliance, which would sort of fall in line since we just had an HLC visit. But then I happened to see Ash walk in, and we're always working on sustainability. So I think that could be a good one as well. And so then again, the process would be that we choose the topic. I would work on gathering the data, analyze it. We would have one more meeting to discuss it, and at the end, I will put the report together. We have the third meeting scheduled right now for October 16th at the same time right before the scheduled board meeting. And this is due to the state by December. So we would be well ahead of the final due date.
Do you have a list of topics? for us to look at, or?
They don't give you a list of topics, which is why I sought out the other schools just to see what they were doing. Luckily, a lot of it is posted online. And so there really isn't one. They give you very general, broad categories like interdepartmental policies, looking at, again, sustainability was one, looking at processes. So if we have a partnership, for example, with, which we do, Will County Sheriff's Department, we have students that do externship there. Are we looking to make sure we're not duplicating work, we are staying compliant with the rules of the department as well as the college? Procurement was another one, making sure that our policies are transparent and compliant. A lot of this has to do with compliance and showing that we're transparent with our processes.
Dr. Gray?
Yes.
One of the things you just mentioned is the procurement. So I know in the past, before Dr. Namu's being part of our team here, we would get blasted from people in the community on the procurement and putting bids out to the minority community. And so I'm wondering if maybe that's something we can give more thought to as far as can we be more efficient in the process of being more open and welcoming and showing people how to put in a proper bid, because it's tough. If you're a business owner, a small business, and you're trying to get in and penetrate that market, there's so much red tape with the state. Maybe, I don't know, that's just something that if we could do it, it's a lot to do.
Yeah.
But that's definitely one, and I think the decennial committee, only because we are going through that as a township also, basically just showing like what have we done that's more efficient, even including have we redone our website, something like that could be reported too. Just showing any efficiencies, and I can tell you right now the 12 by 12 by 12 is definitely something we could document as being something that we're more efficient now, than before that process. But those are just ideas, I know the committee has to decide what they want to pick, but that procurement is definitely one that I would support, I think.
I remember those public comments. I
think you were here. Yeah, it was tough times.
Yes, I think that would be definitely a good one. And every 10 years, we have a new committee and we can pick a new topic. So they said just choose one that's attainable and one that actually is going to make an impact. I think that is a really good example.
But the sustainability one too, because Ash and Dr. Maria Rafak are doing wonderful work. And I think that's something also that we can report. I've heard them on the radio. So that's definitely something maybe that would be even a better one for us now. I don't know.
Yes, I heard Ash's great speech, and she's actually in the audience tonight, so she's fact-checking us to make sure we're sustainable. So I think that's a big topic. I think that's being the oldest community college in the nation, sustainability fits us because it goes with our longevity as well. So.
Agreed.
Amy, I'm looking at the College of Lake County because they have theirs all in print. Do we have minutes that are in print for us that's
Yes.
on our site? Because it looks like they are doing the study to accessibility service to special populations, which would be our HSI that we just got. And then they're also looking for supports for small businesses, which we're looking for the workforce to increase that for population or for enrollment purposes, and for doing whatever we're doing to increase more curriculum for that and certifications. And they're also looking at post-secondary workforce readiness with a focus on internship opportunities. And they've got this really detailed on what they've been doing. They've had 3 meetings so far. So, I mean, they seem to be extremely positioned on it. And I do know that in our ICCTA meetings that we are definitely anticipating and hoping that we do, within the 10-year time frame, we get out of it as the higher education board. So that's something to keep in thought, because we don't think we should be involved in this. So it was supposed to be the higher taxing bodies that we're not that. So just to remind everybody of that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, those are great topics too. There was another school that had one similar to College Lake County in as much as internships. So, I mean, we can always use more of those. The good problem is these are all good topics. These are all things that we could definitely look into and show how we are accountable and look for any gaps where we could improve. wish
Well,
I could-
it seems like when they're doing this, they have the meeting October 24th, December 12th, and March 26th, so this year already. They identify the meeting purpose, and it was to establish first meeting, to establish the scope of work related to efficiencies and increased accountability to the county board in which the college is located. Second of all, they said the meeting purpose on the second meeting was to present preliminary data and analysis to those three things that I said. The third meeting was to present recommendations for consideration and approval. So where are we at? We're at the second meeting, but I think their identification of what they're at, is this the meeting that we have to give a purpose? Or do we have to have that October meeting to come up with a purpose? Because then we'll have to go into 4 to give our considerations of what we've come up with.
And 3 is the minimum. You can have as many meetings as you
Right,
want, and there are
right.
some schools I've seen up to 6.
Right.
But I think because of the transition with Roberto leaving the institution, we're probably 1 meeting behind. On that first meeting, we could have picked a purpose.
Right.
I'm not a purpose, a topic to
Topic.
study. So I think if we do that now, I will gather all the data and I will bring it back in October. Because remember, it has to be submitted to the county board by
Right.
December.
All 7 of them.
Yes.
And then also, we have community members. We have Ms. Donnie
Yeah.
Chestnut here and the other
Ben
gentleman.
Storts. Yeah.
Yes, online. I'd like to maybe hear from what would you guys like to see or learn about? Because I mean, you guys have input in this as well. So I don't mean to put you on the spot, Donnie.
That's what I get for showing up. No, in all honesty, I think we want to show programs that are impacting the community. I do like the 12 by 12 by 12 because there was a great deal of emphasis put on minority students and letting them know that these programs are available to them. The dual credit. So we have data that we support. So this is in place and it's making an impact with our student enrollment. That's what I would like to see, that we're impacting, that kids can really see that JJC is a viable option. I think the affordability of junior college before going off to a 4-year school, we really need to drill that into our students in the community in a much fierce approach, because this is a great way for families, and in Joliet, just look at the Joliet grade school, Joliet high school, number of families that are on some type of federal assistance
Exactly.
is so great that this has to be an option for our students, and it has to be a first choice.
Thank you.
Love that. And we've done so much work on 12 by 12 by 12, I could practically put that together by tomorrow.
There you go.
There's a lot of data on that.
Well, don't, if the wheel goes round, turn it.
I love it.
And especially with the House bill coming up on the dual credit one too, that's a lot of changes that are coming in that we have to look at. That might really be a key one to examine, because there are changes that they're bringing in that could have conflict with us that we need to overcome.
Good point.
Yeah.
Really good point.
Want to toss it to
Ben?
Ben there?
Yeah.
maybe? Yeah.
Ben, are there any special topics that you would like to see us look at?
I like the concept of looking at sustainability. I think every business is looking at that. And I don't think the junior college should be any different. I mean, I think that's a key one. The other one, I think you might have touched on it earlier, but I think one that a lot of different taxing bodies are looking at and different governmental entities is just efficiency in terms of like intergovernmental agreements and trying to not to duplicate services and so forth. So maybe if we'd look at that as well. I mean, but I like the sustainability. So I would say sustainability or making sure we're just being efficient with resources available to us in terms of how we work with our partner agencies.
Thank you.
Chairman, I'd just like to add to what Trustee Morales and what Trustee Broderick had to offer. There's certainly an equity theme there. The ICCB is requiring all community colleges to develop and submit equity plans by June 1st,
Right.
says Escortina. And there's an addendum now to that that is related to BEP, Trustee Morales.
Okay.
So, and ironically, to your statement earlier, depending on the metric, JJC is top 5 or top 3 in terms of BEP spend. So that's an area that certainly, we would look great.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know, in
Okay.
addition to all the equity-related and equity outcome-related
That's
things.
fine.
So they're all good ideas. I think we're just looking for some consensus on kind of where to head.
I really think that looking at the sustainability initiatives and also what Donnie was saying about 12 by 12 is a great idea for us to be, when we're looking at what our topic and purpose is, to be doing the research for.
Okay.
And we can do two. They suggest one or two. I'd be happy to look into both and gather that data, if those are the two top topics.
So is it just look into it, or is this something you start gathering data on and you start doing a lot of work on? So I don't want to wear you down with a lot of work, so.
I appreciate that. I really do. You know, a lot of this stuff I know is readily available. So I know I could gather this data. We do need to gather it, analyze it, again, look for those gaps, and then make recommendations for improvements. But these are two areas that we are so heavily engaged in that it's not like I'm going to have to look for the data. It's there. I can do it.
Have you gone through the House Bill 5020, which is about the dual credit?
Yes.
I mean, when you see the challenges that we're up against, that might be something that really comes in, because it's sustainability too, on what we would have to do with the challenges. Because it's saying that the high schools will have more control over us, who we are the ones that are offering the dual credit.
Exactly. At the state level, the presidents as well as the chief academic officers at our last state meeting, and I know coming up here in a couple weeks, we have formally put in recommendations and I don't want to say objections, but things that we do have concern about that has been voiced.
Good.
Trustee Harris?
Well, earlier you mentioned the public service and the internships that we work together. I think that's a wonderful program, you know, promotes safety and enhances career opportunities as well. So
Yeah.
I really like that one.
A lot of good suggestions. I'm looking at the ones that other community colleges can piggyback on our experiences and our momentum. And those point me towards the 12 by 12 by 12 and dual credit, and then obviously the sustainability. But what's great about that one right now is being student-driven, which I think is very important, that we recognize something that our students have put forth. And if it's important to them, it should be important to the board.
Love that. So would that be our consensus that those two topics, 12 by 12 and sustainability?
Is it 12 by 12 by 12 or dual credit?
Both.
Or
Well, I mean,
It really
they're the
falls-
same thing because 12 by 12 by 12 is only dual credit, so it's really delving into that. And I think especially, I think Donnie mentioned looking at the equity and looking at the opportunities it has given and looking at which populations have increased because they have more access to the courses. So looking at the whole program, really.
That one with the sustainability also, correct? Those are the two that we're
Yeah.
taking consensus. I'm good with both.
And if you look too at some of the reports that are out, the African-American students, because we have a community college and all that we offer, their earnings have gone up 88%, while the Latino students have increased 119%.
Wow.
So this is stuff, this information that we need to feed into that of what we're doing, you know, to include that and be inclusive about it.
Good
Thank
data.
you.
I'm good with those two topics if you can handle those as well, so.
I can.
So we may have met meeting number 2.
Okay, then I know my charge. Got it.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Amy. It looks like
Sure.
we've got meeting approvals from the last one.
Approval
Yeah,
of minutes
so-
of October 18th. That's attached to the trustees' agenda.
So move.
Is that? October 18th is a Friday.
It's the 16th.
The 16th you're doing it then? Okay.
No, the minutes were from October 18th of 2023 is what we're approving.
Oh, sorry.
No, I know, but I said when is the next date? You said October
16th.
October 16th.
16th, right?
Yes.
That's what I'm putting in my calendar.
I'll second the motion.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the,
To approve the minutes?
yes.
Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
Trustee Broderick?
Yes.
Trustee Wazinski?
Yes.
Trustee Harris?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Mahalik?
Yes.
Trustee Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Queenie?
Yes.
Ben Sturts?
Yes.
Donnie
Yes.
Chestnut? Dr. Gray?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Letter I, date of next meeting will be October 16th, 2024 at 5:25, directly in front of the regular board meeting. And item J, need a motion for adjournment of the Centennial Committee meeting
So move.
Second.
and a voice vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you all very much for all that feedback. It's helpful.
And you said you'll have part of it done tomorrow, which is awesome.
I probably could.
I don't doubt it.
And Amy, just so you know too, we bring it up at our ICCTA meetings too. So I will get more of a consensus from them on our June 6th and 7th meeting when we're there too.
Okay.
Get back to you,
Okay, thank you.
okay?
Dr. Gray, do you have a survey then?
Curious.
At the end of every decennial committee meeting, you're required by the statute to distribute a survey to all in attendance.
All in attendance?
All in attendance. Well, no, it's all in attendance and it's optional whether people respond, but thank you.
October.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Gray. Thank you. Okay.
I just want to create the opportunity for Donnie and Ben to take their leave and thank them for their time today. Thanks for being great partners to Joliet Junior College. And Ben, will you please drive safe?
I will. Don't worry, I'm parked right now, so.
Oh, okay.
Very good. Thanks for letting me participate remotely. I appreciate that.
You bet.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Yes.
Right.
Karen, are you ready? Going to move right into the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. I'd like to call to order item 1.1.1, roll call. Karen, can you call the roll, please?
Trustee Broderick?
Present.
Trustee Garcia Guillen? Trustee Harris?
Present.
Trustee Lee?
Present.
Trustee Mahalik?
Here.
Trustee Morales?
Here.
Trustee Queenie?
Present.
Trustee Bazinski?
Present.
We have a quorum.
At this time, I'd like to appoint Secretary Pro Tem Jake Mahalik, who was our previous secretary, in the absence of our current secretary. Item 1.1.2, I'd like to welcome everyone to the meeting. Item 1.1.3, the Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Amy Gray, since you've been a participant tonight, can you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 1.2, communications. Ms. Kelly Roder-Tonelli.
Good evening, everyone, trustees and JJC community. I got to tell you, you could not have queued up our guests any better tonight because we've invited members of the Repair Cafe, the college's inaugural Repair Cafe, to attend tonight's meeting and talk about their experiences. You know, we love and embrace our history as the nation's first community college. We are enterprising. We're entrepreneurial, and there's no better example of that than this initiative right now, which we plan to do well into the future. And so if you didn't see it in the newspaper or hear them on the radio, the Repair Cafe, which actually originated in Europe, connects skilled volunteers with people who need someone with those skills to repair certain items and keep them out of landfills. This is anything from like clothes. I think I read about floor fans, old radios, and so the beautiful thing about this when we talk about partnerships is that it brought together community volunteers, staff, faculty, and students to help repair those items. And so I know that student trustee Queenie was there, board chair Bunzinski was there, and as well as our robust and mighty sustainability team consisting of Maria Anna Rafik, Sean Miller, and Ash Klinder. So I'd like to invite them to the podium right now to talk about that experience.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having us. My name is Maria Anna, as you all know. I've been here at the college for 27 years and serving as your sustainability coordinator since 2008. But today is not about me. Today is about our students here at JJC. In August of last year, Ash came to me and told me about this really great idea called the Repair Cafe in Oak Park. And so we sent her on a mission, and she came back a changed woman. So I'm going to let Ash talk to you a little bit about her vision and how she sees the Repair Cafe fitting in with the college and, of course, our core values.
Thank you, Maria, and thank you, Chairman Budzinski and Ryan, for coming to the Repair Cafe in April this year. It was so much fun, and we were so glad to have you there. Thank you very much. So, like Maria said, I went to a Repair Cafe in Oak Park last year, and I was pretty excited to meet the group. They ended up being a group of mainly retired older people. The nice gentleman who started Repair Cafe, he actually was a retired nuclear physicist from Argonne Laboratory. And he told me that why he started Repair Cafe was because he didn't want to see good things go to landfill, and he had the skills to fix the items, but also to empower his community. He talked about how he wanted to teach repair skills to young men and give them just a way to connect that's positive and that can make a difference. So I was really inspired by his message, and I really wanted to put on the Repair Cafe. So in October, I did the first sort of repair cafe. It was called Busted to Beautiful, where we had 20 volunteers and we fixed, I think, 38 items or something approximate. And it went great. Everyone was happy and they were asking about the next one. And so many objects that we repaired were actually sentimental objects, which is what made that feel so special. You know, repairing toasters from the 70s, or we repaired like a spinning ballerina doll for this nice older lady in her 70s who said her mom gave it to her. So providing this space for the community, it feels so good to help them and their legacies and their families, but also to help keep things out of landfill. And as we see, so many items are made now to be thrown away in a short number of years, usually. So what we can do to repair things and keep them in our economy will make a big difference to how we treat our items and how we build our items moving forward. So that's Repair Cafe. Anything else? Does anyone have any questions or anything?
You did a very good job.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
What was the most difficult thing that they had to repair?
Well, there were some people bringing in unfixable items.
That did happen. Okay.
There was an older gentleman, maybe 80 or 90, and he brought in a tube radio that had tubes. They were looking at it like it had, I don't know, like it had an arm.
I got one of those.
They had no idea how to fix it, but even then, it was nice to have, like, that older gentleman was so happy to just have a group of people to talk to and talk about his weird object that doesn't work anymore, but still carries sentimental value to him. So it was really beautiful. And I think it's great that it's bringing a modern way to repair items and to teach people about it, because it's a skill that's fading, and that's why we see so many retired people in repair cafes around the world. There's over 2,000 around the world. And only 6 in Illinois, and we are one of 6 now, which is so wonderful. So,
But you also get to learn what our generations had.
Right.
Which is a nice learning tool.
It is. It's beautiful now. Yeah, the knowledge transfer from the older generations to the younger ones, and just to make sure these skills don't disappear completely.
True.
And to your point of items being made to be thrown away, and that we would rather have those items long-lasting and longevity, and maybe have these companies start thinking about that again. I loved your presentation. Thank you again.
Thank you. And look into right to repair and things like that. That's a law that we can all support so that companies can be held accountable to making products that can be repaired. So that's right to repair.
Do you think you changed anyone's awareness of adding life to something they thought was broke?
Oh, I hope so. Because so many clothing items and things like that. I was teaching, I didn't get an opportunity to do any darning at this last one, but visible creative mending. And how you can mend your clothing items and put cool patches on them and stuff. And you may like them more because they hold extra sentimental value in that way, because it's something you took care of and you repaired yourself and made it cooler in some ways.
Yeah, because we patched a lot of things in our days.
Yeah, and there's a reason for it.
Yes.
And we shouldn't lose that tradition, because not only is it fun and creative and skillful, but it makes a difference for our planet.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I love your passion and your commitment to this, so I could see the growth and I could see the excitement here, so thank you for, under Maria's leadership, so thank you, all of you, thank you.
Thank you guys too.
And we know you had some awesome volunteers from outside in the community. I talked to one lady who didn't know anything about it until she signed up and came and was excited to be there, said she'd be back. I saw Deb Dunn from the Maker Lab running around helping anywhere she could in the room. I saw Katie Smith was there. I missed some staff. I know Trustee Ellis arrived after I left and scolded me for not staying at least 5 more minutes. But it was there's a lot of excitement there, and I thought that was incredible. And initially, I was going to put this in my chair report. I asked about it, and then working with Kelly, we decided it needed to be at the beginning of this meeting. It just happened to segue into what Dr. Gray was doing. That was all unintentional. Your work was intentional. Ours was all accidental.
Well, thank you. And I have to say, too, our volunteers' ages, we had retired alumni, like Pat Asher was there with us. And we had students as young as, I think, 2021. He actually graduated on Friday along with me. So, but I saw him. His name was Nick. And seeing that connection between the 80-year-old people volunteering and the 20-something-year-old, they were like, at our onboarding, they were like, okay, what tools are you bringing? I'll bring this, you bring that. And they were collaborating just like that. And I'm sure that they both had skills they could share with each other, because the young man, he actually worked at You Break It, I Fix It. So he did computers and stuff like that. And the older guy, he didn't know how to do anything with that. So I think them getting to work together was a beautiful way to transfer knowledge.
Nice.
And we thank the Romeoville campus for hosting it. And
Yes, and Stephanie Braun, thank you.
Yes. Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Just a wonderful event.
Yes.
Thank you for your support, and thank you for continuing to support the planet and putting it on your objectives.
Thank you. Item 1.3, proclamations. 1.3.1, Board of Trustee approval of June as LGBTQIA+ Pride Month proclamation. Dr. Escatrina Urban.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairman Bazinski, trustees, and members of the community. It is my honor to introduce our very own Haley Roberts. Haley's pronouns are she, they. Haley is studying human services. JJC's Pride Alliance has been an integral part of Haley's student experience. We are so honored to have Haley here today to read our LGBTQ+ proclamation.
LGBTQIA+ Pride Month 2024. Whereas Joliet Junior College would like to officially recognize June as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, and asexual LGBTQIA+ Pride Month to acknowledge and celebrate the history of those who have made and continue to make valuable contributions in our society and ensuring progress and lasting equality for LGBTQIA+ individuals. Whereas June will act as a time of remembrance to honor the historic and revolutionary events that occurred at the Stonewall Inn in June 1969, which laid the foundation for the ongoing equality movement in regards to the LGBTQIA+ community. This month will serve as a time of personal reflection for the LGBTQIA+ community and their allies towards the effort, sacrifices, and victories of those individuals. Whereas June will be a time of celebration for the LGBTQIA+ community at Joliet Junior College for the progress made since Stonewall and the resilience and determination of the individuals in the LGBTQIA+ community, for their continued efforts to raise awareness in regards to the needs of the LGBTQIA+ community and create improvement. Whereas during LGBTQIA+ Pride Month, we state our promise to uphold the freedom, dignity, and self-esteem of all individuals within this community and promise to dedicate ourselves to protecting them against all forms of discrimination, oppression, and hatred. LGBTQI+ Pride Month reiterates that LGBTQIA+ rights are human rights, and Joliet Junior College stands with and will continue to support this community to accept nothing less than full equality. Now therefore, it will be resolved that the Board of Trustees of Illinois Community College District Number 525, Joliet Junior College, counties of Will, Grundy, Kendall, LaSalle, Kankakee, Livingston, and Cook, State of Illinois, does hereby recognize and honor June as LGBTQIA+ Pride Month.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item 1.3.2. Item 1.3.2, Board of Trustee approval of Juneteenth proclamation.
Whereas Juneteenth is the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of the ending of slavery in the United States, and whereas on June 19, 1865, Union soldiers led by Major General Gordon Granger led out of Galveston, Texas, with news that the war had ended, and that being the remaining enslaved blacks in Texas were now free, nearly 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation and 2 months after the end of the Civil War. And whereas with those words, our country changed, and we have continued to change, striving always to make it right, to make it better for all. And whereas these words created a legal means to continue to fight for equality, equality remained a distant reality. And whereas the observation of Juneteenth is about the journey of Black Americans from a horrific period of enslavement to blessed freedom. And whereas today we celebrate incremental progress with this resolution, recognizing and celebrating the moment when emancipation reached the last enslaved part of the Confederation in Texas. And whereas Juneteenth celebrates pride, resilience, and determination that will always be part of historical and spiritual significance. And whereas we look back over 150 years of progress, we honor those who have come before us, we remember those who lost their lives, and we remember those who collectively paved the road to freedom. Whereas we pay tribute to this journey and we acknowledge the many roles and contributions of Black spirit to our society, and whereas we embrace the past, we embrace the future, something that only occurs with unity and respect. And whereas Joliet Junior College celebrates Juneteenth and celebrates the freedom of Black people. Now therefore we resolve that the Board of Trustees of Illinois Community Colleges District 525, Joliet Junior College, communities of Will, Grundy, Kankakee, LaSalle, Livingston, and Cook, State of Illinois, hereby recognize and designates the 19th of June as Juneteenth Day in Illinois Community College District 525.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Item 1.4, it's a chair request for a closed session for discussion under 2C1 personnel, 2C2 unions, and 2C11 litigation. Need a motion and a second, please.
How long will we be in?
45 minutes to an hour.
Is there anything that can be moved to the second?
It already has been.
Okay, I'm just asking.
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Right, second. Trustee Mahalik?
Yes.
Trustee Queenie?
Yes.
Trustee Broderick?
Yes.
Trustee Harris?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Bless you.
Trustee Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Buzinski?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 1.5, return to public session. Chair calls for a motion and a second to return.
Motion.
Second.
And a vote, please.
Trustee Mahalik?
Yes.
Trustee Harris?
Yes.
Trustee Broderick?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Queenie?
Yes.
Trustee Buzinski?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 1.6, public comments. Karen, do we have any public comments for this meeting?
Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you. Item 1.7, moment of silence. Dr. Namuel?
Chairman Budzinski and members of the board and members of the JJC community, I'm asking the college community to join us in a moment of silence for the following individuals. Mary Lou Bennington, mother of Sean McGuan in our marketing department. June Siddon, mother of Lynn Douglas McGee, a secretary in our TRIO area. Tony Salvaggio, mother of Nicole Salvaggio, father of Nicole Salvaggio, assistant professor of philosophy and world languages. Richard Kloberdance, father-in-law of Jennifer Kloberdance in admissions and recruitment. Clinton Hulbert, father-in-law of Gina Hulbert, our nursing professor and chair. James Santoro, father of Stacy Santoro Murphy, one of our English professors. And Melissa Tolios, wife of Tom Tolios, our bookstore inventory clerk.
And I'd like to add my cousin Isabel Sy, who passed away. And for one special employee that we cannot give the name out, that needs our prayers to get her through the ICU and out of bad health situation.
Thank you, Chair Nemo. Item 1.8, selected reports. 1.8.1, the 2023-2024 Student Trustee Final Advising Project with our own Aisha Ellis.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
As the former student trustee, I envision supporting JJC in creating an environment where all employees serving as academic advisors are knowledgeable, responsive, and positive to ensure all students have the right tools to make informed academic decisions about their college careers. This included improving academic advising services to ensure it is a useful and accessible tool for all students. The effort aligns with our current JJC strategic plan, which supports the goal of creating an intentional student life cycle. This project included a student academic advising focus groups, as well as a voluntary and confidential survey, which received 554 responses. I have collected comprehensive data for both the quantitative and qualitative parts of the survey and have categorized them based on primary themes, the themes which I will later present in the presentation. According to the survey conducted, a significant proportion of students, that is 73%, had already determined their academic major at the time of applying, while 26% of respondents had not made any decision in this regard. The most popular majors were those related to nursing, biology, and computer science. When asked if they understood the role of a success coach, 64% of students responded yes, 22 responded no, and 12 were still unsure, despite some contradictions in the open response. 78% of students understood the role of a faculty advisor, while 9% did not, and 10% were still unsure. Students were also asked each of the ways they have received academic advising support. 17% of students chose student success coaches, 48% faculty advisors, while 33% of students chose self-advising. Students were also asked if they had ever signed up for classes without consulting with the student success coach or faculty advisor, and 60% of participants within our student body responded yes, while 39% responded no. As I stated earlier, students provided common themes, and I organized the data according to what they provided. These themes included guidance, responsive advisors, informed advisors, and accessibility in the advising process. In relation to guidance, various students have shared that they feel there are too many students and not enough advisors. A student shared that they like JJC to help students identify their academic advisors, stating, "Advisors should be reaching out too. Currently, when students call, they are not directed to a specific advisor, making it almost impossible to make an appointment to see one." Another student suggested offering walk-in appointments for non-major specific help, guidance, or advice, stating this would be helpful for small schedule changes, such as replacing a class, picking up one more class, or answering general questions. Sometimes students don't need an hour-long appointment, they just want to ask a few questions. However, getting an appointment is a hassle, especially for generic questions. As a result, students often seek help from peers or other places around campus. Regarding students' requests for responsive academic advisors, one student expressed frustration, stating, "It is difficult to reach an advisor to schedule an appointment. They are always too busy to respond to emails and voicemails. Half of the time, I have to make a special in-person visit just to speak to my advisor. And even then, I feel rushed and not really listened to. We discussed the plan and I confirmed it several times, but I still ended up being told that I needed more classes after completing and passing all the classes I was told I needed to graduate." Another student suggested advisors should respond to emails and try to set up appointments after numerous inquiries. Student advisors should be listed within my JJC, as I didn't know who mine was and initially contacted the wrong person. As it pertains to students' requests for academic advisors to be informed, a student requested JJC hold advisors responsible, stating when they come up with a plan that is supposed to lead you to graduating and you complete everything just to find out you need more classes and lost your financial aid because you didn't make enough progress, they should be held responsible. I put my trust in you, thinking you knew exactly what needed to be done and when, and now I'm screwed because I was supposed to trust and listen to you. It's very aggravating and annoying that they are not held responsible in any way, so they just don't care. Another student shared, the advisors need to be sure they are giving accurate information to new students. Money was wasted by taking unnecessary classes that I did not know about until the end of the semester. The advisors delayed my graduation and took money that is needed for required courses. Regarding students' requests for the academic advising process to be more accessible, one student shared, making these services more accessible and easier to navigate for new students will be very helpful. As a first-generation student, I have navigated almost everything on my own, as my parents were also unsure on how to complete the process. Another student mentioned, make it more easily accessible online. When signing up, I did not know there was a new student orientation. Lastly, I would like to share a direct quote from a student. I strongly believe that with more focused leadership in advising and broader student awareness of advising materials and coaches, there will be a greater student experience as well as greater academic success. Are there any questions? Yes.
I don't have a question, but I want to thank you for your report. And I think in today's meeting, we're going to be voting on things specific that will address this issue, because that's very important that we have the right academic advisors doing their job appropriately. So I think today a lot of those things will be addressed. So thank you so much, Trustee Ellis. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
You know, I agree the academic advisors should be reaching out to students. Our ratio is pretty high on that as well, but you know, students' majors change. You come here, this is something new. You go to a class, you like something. All of a sudden you take another class and you figure out you like it some more. So your major's going to change. So I think that's what we should be encouraging our advisors to do, reach out to students on a timely basis. I thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Great, so.
And I do think this, because I know when my son went through another community college, I shared this with Dr. Farmer, that one worked in the Department of Athletics, and that one knew what they needed to do to transfer to the four-year university that they needed to go to make sure that they came out with an associate's degree in the subject matter that he wanted, and to make sure that the courses all transferred. Now that we see the change in that it's going to be all courses now will be able to be transferred, that we won't have a problem, we still need to make sure that they're on the right dime of getting what they need to get their associates to continue with the degree that they want to do.
Yeah, we don't want them to take some unnecessary classes they don't have
Right,
to take, and I
right.
agree with that. So I started out wanting to be an accountant. I took a class here, I loved it. I took a second class here, I didn't like it, and I switched my major, so.
Thank you for your presentation. No questions for you. Just wondering if anyone knows what is our student advisor to student ratio? Does anyone know off the top of their head?
1 to 900.
does.
1 to 900.
1 to 900.
But that's also going to be addressed in this meeting as well.
Right. No, I just wasn't aware of I knew it had to be pretty.
We got to make sure that our advisors are definitely equipped and don't have an overload on caseload as well, so I agree with that.
1 to
so.
900 is definitely
It is.
not a great number, so we'll have to work
Trustee
on that.
Ellis, what does the relationship look like between a student and advisor? Do they want in-person? Are they
Yes.
open to online, Zoom, or interactive through the computer at all?
So, from what I found within the survey, a lot of the students asked for in-person advising. Even with the new student orientation, they felt that it would be much more beneficial if they could do it in person. However, there were students who also wanted the online option, but most students did say in person.
So they're open to doing a chat?
Yes.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you, Aisha. Wonderful presentation. That information is very useful to us as a board.
Thank you.
Thank you again so much. And thank you for all your service over the last year as a trustee.
Item 1.8.2, the tentative fiscal 2024 through 2025 budget report.
Chairman, I'd just like to tee this one up and also acknowledge the presence of Mrs. Ellis back there. Nope, not at all. Okay, not at all. Nope, never here, was never here. Never mind. To former student trustee Ellis, now JJC graduate, Aisha Ellis. I just wish you all the very best. We're so very proud of you. And, similar to Trustee Stamborski's work before, where we've started to see some strategies and projects around mental health, as that was Trustee Stamborski's project. Trustee Ellis, you will start to see some momentum related to this. So we thank you for your good work, wish you all the best, and thank you for being here tonight.
And if you saw a pattern here with us bringing Ash back, even though she's graduated, you're back even though you graduated, we'll keep you, prize of when our next meeting is, so.
Back to the FY25 budget, Chairman. The administration is very proud to present to you the FY25 budget. As you all have gotten a preview of this, and the Finance Committee got a look at this today, we are proud to present to you for the second year in a row, no tuition increase, flat tuition. And the way we're able to do that, and again, our approach to this budget has been collaborative, it's been inclusive, it's been community conscious and student-centered. So just want to acknowledge the good work of Karen Kissel, Jeff Heap, and their teams. You are seeing the artifact of hundreds and hundreds of hours of work and meetings with not only cabinet, but budget managers and individuals across the college. I mentioned to the Finance Committee today, but this is the most collaborative, inclusive budget development process I've seen here at JJC as compared to the other colleges I've been at. So just kudos, Karen, to you for your leadership there. This budget represents, a careful approach to FY25, but also we're doing things. It represents, you'll see in here, some key strategic investments that align with our strategic plan to, of course, maximize the impact we have on the communities we serve. This budget, while it represents a lot of careful planning, also represents an ambitious agenda in a number of different ways. And both Karen and Jeff will reveal those ways. I might offer and just give a little bit of a teaser, as I mentioned this in the Finance Committee, and it's not just related to Title III, Title V funding as a result of our new HSI status, but we will, over the next 3 to 5 years, see a record influx in extramural funding from either the state of Illinois or the federal government. And again, I'm just teasing that. I'll give you a little bit more detail later. So with that in mind, all of these resources, we remain committed to being great stewards of the public dollar, appreciate all of the great support that our communities provide. And with that, Karen Kissel.
I can't kick it off any better. So as Jeff approaches the lectern, I'll tap dance till you walk
Theme
up
music?
there. Last year we shared the microphone and that was really weird. So we're gonna do it separately this year.
Can't see anything anymore.
So our agenda is to go through the FY25 budget assumptions, the 25 budget projections in terms of revenue and expenditures, and then the 25 budget highlights. When we met with you on January 31st at the workshop, we talked about what the foundation or the framework would be of the budget, and we presented this to you, and we had a really robust discussion on what the factors would be that we would base our foundation of our budget on. They were level funding from a state perspective. They were property tax increases for new construction, and the consumer price index, so we would not be hitting the property tax cap. We would factor in a credit growth of 1.5% over last year, and we would have a flat tuition increase. We do get from time to time reports from all the other community colleges who talk about their tuition rate increases, and we were one of the few colleges, although we don't have everything in yet, that has kept a flat tuition rate, not only for this year, but for last year. So I think that's something that we should be proud of as an institution. And then finally, as we looked at expenditures, we talked about our salary increases from 4 to 5% because of union negotiations and non-union salary increases. Our benefits increasing approximately 7%, which is pretty consistent with what we've seen in past years. Other increases, which would be contractual and supplies, we said would be about 3% given consumer price index. Utilities going up about 4%. And we were challenged to take a look at making sure there were reserves or monies that are dedicated to new initiatives by the chair and by the board. And we've been able to secure those dollars in our operating budget. We'll talk about that. And then finally, Aisha and the initiative that she had with the advisors, we were able to incorporate $390,000 into this year's budget, which will bring 4 new advisors to JJC to support our students, and we're very, very proud of that. So thank you, Aisha, for leading that charge.
So to continue on from basically the revenue assumptions. A lot of this is very unchanged from the projections that were in end of January. So about a 4.5% increase for operating funds, in debt service 4.7%. And that was set in the bond referendums or the bond resolutions when they were adopted. The tax increase is made up from the consumer price index from last calendar year, the 3.4%, and then an estimate of about 1.1% or $300 million from new construction. And that equates or equals around $3 million of additional funds. For tuition and fee revenue, it's based on last year's or FY24's actual enrollment for paid hours, and then increased by 1.5% for growth. Current year hours, paid hours, are about just shy of 2,000 hours over what the budget was. So that's an additional, 226,000. And then the 1.5% enrollment growth is approximately 338,000 at the tuition rate of $116. Now keep in mind, a lot of this times with tuitioning or enrollment growth, you start seeing more sections. A lot of that revenue has to be devoted toward like adjuncts or overloads for potential sections of classes. On the state credit hour, we're estimating about 9.7 million. That's, if you looked at dollar-wise, it's slightly less than what the current year allocation was. Tried to do a bit of an estimate of what our credit hours were going to be reimbursed on versus system-wide. So it goes down just a hair. The governor's proposed increase to higher ed is not factored in here yet, but the state budget's not been adopted yet. And then the CTE or Career and Tech Ed grant, that allocation, we just always do it kind of based on what last year's actual was. And it bounces anywhere from 725,000 to 775,000, not a large dollar amount. And then interest income, as interest rates have stayed, we've built up kind of our investment ladder, especially with treasury notes going out about 4 years, projected earnings of at least $3 million for next year. Because there was some assumptions that interest rates are going to potentially be reduced sometime this year. So overall, just big picture, by kind of the revenue categories from property taxes down to a little bit of transfer coming back in. Total operating budget, ed and O&M, almost $8 million. As a reference point, last year was just a tad over 111 million for the operating funds. From a percentage basis, there's no change from last year. They're all consistent. Property taxes, 59% of our operating, tuition, 26%, state, 9%. So no change in what's supplying the college the revenue from an operating standpoint. On the expenditure side, like Karen had said, personnel kind of based on union contracts and negotiations, kind of that 4 to 5%. Benefits, 7%. It's in line with what the premium equivalency rates are, maintaining our reserves, funding what we need to cover our insurance costs on the PPO since we're self-insured for that. Material supplies contractual, basically a 3% inflationary adjustment factored into the budget for departments.
As we look at strategic initiatives for FY25 in terms of expenditures, we added a $100,000 line item for the President's Design Thinking Initiative. I know he's talked about it before, but it's an innovative approach to improving business services by redefining problems and challenging different assumptions. He has challenged the cabinet to look at very specific initiatives across the campus and try to apply them here, trying to think outside the box. He's also challenged his President's Leadership Council with doing the same. What the president is envisioning is that we're going to have a $100,000 pool of money that we're going to offer up to the institution for coming up with creative, innovative ideas. They're going to submit a proposal and they will be awarded these initiatives based on the outcomes that they've provided in their white paper. So it's a really exciting opportunity for people to be really creative and innovative in terms of approaching the college. One of the other ideas that President Numuo has was he's been to different institutions, different locations, and he's seen, the outside of our campus is very white. He said, maybe there's different ways we can identify different entrances. When you come inside the campus, have a little bit more interactive experience. So we're taking a look at, with marketing and other vendors, ways that we can improve not only the outside of the campus, but the inside interactiveness as new students come in and families come in. And then at the January 31st meeting, it was Chair Bazinski who said, I want to make sure that we have monies available to do strategic initiatives. We were able to identify $700,000 in contingency funds that we will be able to implement new programs, look at ways to support students. So we're very excited about having that line item in the budget. Then the next item is capital outlays. Each year, we try to invest monies into the institution, specifically in grounds and roads. We're looking at $259,000 and some equipment that's necessary to keep the grounds and roads up. Furniture replacements, we've been talking about that as a board for the last year and a half since I've been here. We want to make sure that the classrooms are places where students want to learn, that they're modern, that they're fresh, and where faculty wants to teach. The same with room remodeling and upgrades and furniture replacements along the corridors. This is where students learn and they engage, and we're continuing to take a look at ways to just improve those spaces for our students and visitors on campus. Then finally, new positions. President Numuo talked about this, but the cabinet and the business budget managers, we had a lot of conversation about different positions that we needed on campus. And we ended up with these top positions based on a lot of conversation and a lot of collaboration, and ways that we were pooling money and resources to support each other to make sure that the top positions were available. And I think that the cabinet should be applauded for stretching our resources and providing them to each other. So the first position is TSMS Technical Analyst. It's an IT position, and it's really a way to support all the new technologies on campus to make sure the customer service is there. There's so much more technology, and there's so much more demand for people who are supporting that technology that they really needed to add another position on campus in order to do that effectively. And then finally are the 4 academic advisors. This is the first influx of academic advisors that we're going to have over the next 3 years. So we're talking about putting 4 in now, 4 in next year, and 4 in the following year. Right now, our ratio is 950 to 1. The best practice is 300 or 350 to 1. So we're working toward that, and hopefully we'll have some better statistics in the upcoming year of how many students we're serving to be able to give you a better estimate of what those 4 positions did. We know it's going to move the needle. We just can't tell you exactly how much yet, but it's going to be there. And then finally, the Director of Mental Health and Wellness. We've been talking about mental health and wellness of our students for the last year and a half. This was an initiative of former trustee Stamborski, and we're happy to include the Director of Mental Health and Wellness in a new position who's going to run this new area. With that being said, I wanted to provide you just a floor plan of what this proposed mental health space is going to be. Right now, it's slotted to be in the J building on the first floor. The exciting part of that area is it's got an outside entrance and an inside entrance. So students can come in from the outside or from the inside. Or if someone's in crisis, we can provide an ambulance for them to be transported properly. It's approximately 5,000 square feet of space, and it has not only spaces for different practitioners to meet with students, but it has a group therapy space, a classroom space, and if the budget allows, outside would be a beautiful Zen garden, and inside we're going to have a food pantry for students who have food insecurities. So we're looking at putting that out to bid in June. Hopefully we'll provide it to you in August for you to approve, and then starting construction in September. We hope it will be up and functional with everybody in place by December or January of this coming year. Ooh, I should tell you some statistics too. I did speak with Michael to just talk about how many students we serve, just to give you an idea. Since 2000, we had 2020, we had 115% increase in individual sessions with our students for 2,633. We had a 587% increase in crisis situations for 103 students. And what we found in talking with our students is that 70% of our students want in-person counseling. That's why we build these spaces. You can also, if you need a safe space to talk to a counselor and you want to do it remotely, you could use one of those offices to have a phone conversation. But we built it with that 70% in mind. And finally are the reallocations. So as I said, we had a lot of conversations about how to bring these positions to life on campus without adding too much money to the budget and repositioning dollars. So the first position is a part-time to now full-time evening nurse computer lab assistant. And this person is implemented because we are increasing the number of computerized proctored testing exams in nursing, in CNA, in fire science, in paramedic, in radiology technology. So that's what this person's going to be doing. The second position was previously part-time, now full-time, and it's administrative assistant in the president's office. Just given the workload and the initiatives that are coming out of the president's office, they need additional support. The next position goes from a part-time position to now full-time. It's a web content and accessibility coordinator. This person is going to make sure that we're compliant with all the accessibility standards of our website. They're going to coordinate the 100 web content editors across campus and just ensure quality, ensure consistency, and just make sure that we're supporting students in fostering an inclusive environment for those who need that level of support. The next position, which was part-time, which we're now proposing to move full-time, is a mail center specialist who's going to have a dual role, not only in the mail center, but in the print shop. The print shop has been a victim of their own success. They've had 400% of increases in orders over the last 3 years. They now provide 40 products and services across our campus. I don't know if you've, for example, visited the Romeoville campus, but all those graphics on the walls, our print shop does that. We no longer outsource that work. They've had no increase in headcount, and we're going to provide them a half a person support so they can continue to provide those services across campus. And then finally, DEI support staff. Previously was a student worker, now it's going to be a part-time person, and they're going to be focused specifically on the HSI initiative across campus.
So summing it all up on the expenditure side, from an object base, we're coming to the same $116.8 million. As you can see more from a graph, from an operating standpoint, the college is basically a people business. It ranges in that 77-78% is salary and benefits of our operating budget. And these are consistent with what they were last year and what they've trended the last lot of years, I guess I should say it that way. So the ed fund, about 95 million, O&M about 21.7. We're showing a balanced operating budget, which would be the 52nd balanced budget and represent basically a 5.19% increase from last year's budget from an operating standpoint. Some of the other funds outside of the operating fund, the auxiliary fund, is some of our revenue generating bookstore, food service, auto shop, some of the course fees go in there. It's balanced. Revenues equal expenses, so everything's balanced in there. There's some accumulated funds in there, especially like for parking fines. stuff accumulates for multiple years. We are looking at replacing one of the campus police vehicles with the surplus that has accumulated. Self-insurance, that's basically the health insurance reference. The departments are charged based on personnel. The revenue gets put into the self-insurance fund, and then we pay our actual PPO claims, the HMO, workers' comp. That's balanced with how we're budgeting that. We'll maintain our healthy reserves there. And then audit, and then liability protection and settlement fund, primarily driven by just a property tax. Audit's a small one, 80, 85,000. It covers the annual audit. Liability protection and settlement, almost little over 900,000. Basically, that's covering a lot of our property and liability insurance and unemployment costs if we get billed for anybody from the state. Those are balanced. We always budget what our fund balance is as a contingency in case something comes up, especially with LP&S. If there was any type of settlement, that's where the intent would be, that's where that would be covered from.
And then finally, additional funds in infrastructure in those categories. Every year, we allocate monies to continually reinvest in all our campuses. When you walk on this campus, we don't have a lot of deferred maintenance issues. We maintain our campuses quite well, and it's because the team who works to make sure that we're on track by providing preventative maintenance. So these are at a high level some of the areas or project types that we're going to have. I'll just go through some of them at a high level for you. We're going to be doing facade and exterior repairs. We're going to be repairing the stucco on the outside of the building, replacing some windows. We're going to be doing some exterior and interior painting. We're going to be upgrading some elevators that need upgrading. We're going to be replacing the AC at Whitendorf. We're going to be replacing the cooling unit in the Black Box Theater, repairing some of the roof attachments at Whitendorf, continually upgrading and replacing carpeting and tile across all of our campuses. And we're going to be modifying the theater seating to make sure we have enough ADA seating there, replacing the concourse furniture, which you've been proving over the last few years, continually upgrading our security cameras, our keyless entry, providing more bottle filling stations on campus, and continually upgrading our parking lots. So in terms of next steps, we're looking for you to adopt the preliminary budget today. We'll be posting it for 30 days. We'll be coming back to you to ask for your approval on June 26th. Do you have any questions for us?
I just have questions related to the student advisor positions. So we're adding 4 this year, and you expect that we'll be at that 360 students ratio by the time we add all 12?
I think that is
that
our
the
goal.
hope?
That is the goal. I think we're going to be monitoring as we move forward during the 3-year period.
Okay.
I'm hoping we get to add more than 12.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It just seems like a lot.
Enrollment
I'm
growth
just a
for,
little
so-
concerned about the whole
And
situation.
Trustee Lee, I really appreciate that because Dr. Gray is waiting anxiously to share something that I think is going to help.
Okay.
I greatly appreciate that. So we had a task force made up of half faculty and half advising staff. And we worked for about a year and a half to try to tackle this 1 to 900 plus ratio.
This is a big deal.
It's a
for our
huge
students.
deal because
Yeah.
it affects retention, it affects completion, it
Everything,
affects student
yeah.
satisfaction, all of it. So in addition to adding, and of course we're trying to be fiscally responsible at the same time, in addition to adding these, and we did try to space it out, but we spent a year and a half looking at other ways that we can affect advising as well. So for example, we have faculty advisors, and advising really relies on them, for example, in nursing, in some of the CTE programs that require very specific advising. So we had about 100 and I want to say around 140 stipends, which means that faculty member would be able to advise 3 hours a week. And we're always looking for more, and we were always looking for more advisors. So part of that agreement that we did come up with for after a year and a half was to increase those number of stipends to about 180. So that will allow a lot more faculty to take a lot of the volume really from student development, because they are just really literally slammed.
That sounds like a great idea, because I heard one of the students' complaints when Aisha was reading her report was, hey, you had me in this program, you told me this is what I needed, I completed everything you said, and I'm still not graduating. So there must have been, you know, some sort of, they weren't in that nursing, say it's a nursing program, and they kind of gave them some misadvice. So that seems like that might help clear that issue as well.
In addition, we looked at the stipend for faculty. It really was, when we looked at sister institutions, it was very low. And so to encourage more faculty to advise, that has been increased over a 3-year period. That was part of it. And we developed an entirely new, and it's really comprehensive, but really can get someone started, and that's advisor training. So it's completely new from what we used to do. It's very much more contemporary. It reaches the students where they are. If they want to, you know, to see the student say, I didn't know that there was student orientation. There is no way possible with this new plan that, provided it's funded, that we will have a student that does not know that there's orientation. And also, we talked about going back to basics. How about that old in-person orientation where everyone comes to campus and you're so excited because you're starting college and you get to see the faces of people in financial aid and advising and your faculty. So we are going back to that as well.
Awesome.
It's all actually already started.
So I just want to repeat back what I heard, because you know I like to do that. So I'm hearing that on top of the 4 positions that we are adding over the next 3 years, 4, 4, and 4, which would be a total of 12 extra advising positions, you are also giving teachers incentives through stipends to kind of, in their niche, help advise students that's going to take off that load as well. So then would that be something that the student advisors are kind of not doing, and they'll be answering other questions then, and we'll be trying to send students to specific, you know, teachers that are advisors in their niche then?
Well, the way that it's set up, a student will walk in and they'll see a success coach to start off with. So that person does the general advising. But let's say that the student says, I want to be a nurse. Then they can hand that student off. So then they're open to handle these students that are coming in the door, and that student goes off to the nursing advisors that have been trained in it, and they have to go through training to advise. Even if they've been an advisor already for 15 years, they have to do this new training. So because making sure we give the accurate information is of utmost importance, of course. So they will be handed off to the nursing department. And we've worked with advising to see which ones it makes most sense to hand off, and which ones maybe through the first year even will stay with the advising department.
So this will be by department then? That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah. Good recap.
Thank you.
I have some questions. First of all, I'm glad to see 52 years were balanced, because that's the most critical thing we as trustees are supposed to be looking at, is the budget. And I know that when I was in the finance committee, you mentioned that there were some cuts, reprisals. Can you get those numbers to us so we can see what cuts were done, so that we see what budget cuts were done with the reprising of situations? Is that possible to do?
We could pull together some level of allocations and talk about what we've allocated.
It would just help us, because we're supposed to be looking at the budget, because when it comes to the tax levy, which is always a big concern, the focus has always been, you as trustees need to look at your budget and make sure that you're not overspending or overdoing something, that there are cuts. So if there's reprising that's done, at least let us see, so that we, as you know, our constituents are looking at us when we vote. And the nice thing, and I'll mention this because I mentioned this at the meeting, when I looked at my tax bill, our tax levy last year was 0.2876. This year it's 0.2818, and that's a 0.0068 drop. And my tax bill, based only on appreciation, went up only $8.68, unlike our grade school and high schools, which are the more effective ones of a higher tax bill. I know you're smiling about that. So I would just ask, so I'm giving you the compliments on that side, because that's a concern, that I want to make sure that we see any budgetary cuts. Then the other thing that I'm looking at, because you want us to look at all of these things that are on here, and I'm looking, of course, at the additional thing that you gave us for proposed 2024 budgets of ACCT, ICCTA, GLI, NLS, student trustee, trustee community engagement investments. you cut our budget. And we're the ones that don't get any money. We don't get paid, we make zero. And then I'm looking at the budgets that are out here, and I'm like, okay, one spent 69,000, but that person's still at 60,000. I'm looking at the EVP position, who only spent 12,000, but she's still got a budget of 40,000. I look at, what was the other one? I mean, I'm just going through looking at, everybody stayed the same or went up, other than us. And I don't think it's fair, because technically this should not even come up. We should be where the trustees say in our next meeting what things we want to go to, and then allocate that money into the budget. Because when you say the NLS, the National Legislative Summit, all trustees are supposed to go to it. Most of the schools have 3 or 4 trustees there. The ACCT conference, some go, some don't go. You know, you've got the ICCTA, some can go, all can go, they're all invited. We're trying to get population up. So I think, like all the other schools are doing, and we're the only ones that are setting up this individual thing, lump summit, let each trustee say what they want to go to, so that then you have a better idea. Because last year, when you look at what was spent for Las Vegas, that was the only thing that could be spent for that, to be honest with you. 3,500, that didn't do it. I know myself, my own was like 34.89. It didn't give anybody any freedom to go to anything else, if that's what you were holding us to. And as far as the ICCTA and ACCT, you don't need to have a special one for that. If any of us want to go, we're members of the ICCTA and ACCT. Let us go and learn, just like the GLI. The GLI is not just for new people, it's for us that want to get more development. I have an educational leadership that I won from, or that I was awarded from the ICCTA. That gives us further development as board members. We just can't sit here and come in and say, yeah, I'm going to vote for this, but I don't know why I'm voting for it, or I'm doing this and I don't know why I'm doing it. We need trustee development. The ICCTA and the ACCT are our learning avenues. We need to have those learning avenues open. So I would recommend to do this with this thing, and I'm sorry if I'm being rude and crude about it, but I think we need to go to a full dollar amount and have each of us write down what we'd like to go to, so you have an engagement from what each one wants to do. And then you're not sitting there going, oh, we don't have enough, or we do have enough. We don't get paid. This should be entitlement that we should be able to go and learn and experience what we're supposed to experience. So I'm sharing that with all of you trustees, so you all understand that all the other schools, and I gave you a sample of the budgets from all the other schools, and on top of it, I'm going to say this. When I look at our budget, we have a salary of $500. Most of the schools now have the board secretary. So the board secretary is truly the board secretary in that line. I would ask, why do we not have that in our section? Move it from whatever section you have, so that that board secretary reports to the board, because that board secretary should work for us. That's what it is normally. All the other colleges have it that way. Thank you.
You're welcome, Trustee Rutt. Permission to recycle what you tore up?
You can.
Okay, all right.
You can
We're going to recycle that.
You can
All right.
recycle it.
So just want to offer that while it appears that way, the 52.4 is obviously less than FY '24 60,000. I believe we moved 11,000 into travel and conference meeting. Can you confirm that, Jeff? For events and food.
It was more the additional meeting expense,
Right.
not direct trustee travel related.
Right.
Basically, board meeting.
Do you recall how much
The
that was?
revised budget is, I think, 63,500. That's the proposed budget now.
Okay, so that was 11,000 then?
11,000.
Does that help, Trustee Broderick?
So
The
where did you move it?
11,000?
Where did you move it to?
We moved it, I believe we moved it to travel and conference meeting, or I'm sorry, general meeting on supplies.
General meeting and
To
supplies.
keep it out of trustee travel, because it's food here.
Okay, so if
Yeah.
we have anything related to, like our seminars, our retreats, this would all come of this, and
Right.
we'd have speakers that would come out of that line?
Right,
instead
the
of our line?
11,000, correct,
Instead of
and
our
not
line?
trustee travel. Yeah.
Okay,
Does that
because-
make sense?
That makes sense, but I mean,
And
I would
taking
just
it
like
out.
to see, to be honest with you, you're talking, what, 7,600 to put, and just make it look the same line item that it was last year. I mean, I see that you're doing that, but I just want to make sure that when you're looking at what you're adding up, that you don't restrict anybody that wants to go to any of these functions, because when I look at it, you got 52.4 down as the dollar amount for one trustee to the National Legislative Summit, one trustee, or student trustee travel, doesn't give that much for that person. Trustee engagements, 2,100. When you look at some of these things, unless you're including sponsorships, which you sponsor, and then all the trustees are able to go to those, okay, that should be a little bit more, because even if you look at some of the engagements that we have, the golf outing is 150 for the JJC golf outing. That already cuts you in half. I mean, and I'm looking at the 4,000 for going to Seattle, Washington. If that's per trustee, I would say it's a lot more, because when you're traveling that far and you've got to do connections and everything and hotels, that I'm already looking at what the hotel rates are, it's going to be much more. So, I mean, I think, truthfully, I think if we as trustees came back at the next meeting and said, these are the things we'd like to go to, and document it so that you guys have it, and you make it inclusive in the budget. That's my concern. I mean, I want to be like the other colleges, that we don't have to scramble to say this one person can't go because we don't have it in the budget.
Yeah, understood. And just one other thing, Trustee Broderick, I believe, FY23, I believe the per trustee amount was $2,700, and that was insufficient at the time because some trustees will travel to different things, and so they would exhaust their funds and we'd have to kind of move money around. Last year we increased it. I believe the amount was $3,500 per trustee. But we kind of discovered that's not the most efficient way to do it. It might be equal, but it's not the most efficient because each of you are involved in different things and have different responsibilities, statewide, ICCTA rep. So I want you to just consider looking at it this way. For ACCT, we've allocated 4,000, which already is above kind of last year's 3,500. And then in addition to that, down at the trustee community engagement events, that's local stuff that if you were to take kind of 4,000 plus 300, the total allocation there is 4,300. In addition, those trustees like Trustee Queenie, who has some additional student-related responsibilities, has a separate line item. Those who travel with us to lobby in DC have a separate line item. So this is really designed to kind of allocate resources where they have traditionally been expended according to the activities of the trustees. But certainly take your point. And we'd be just looking for consensus of the board if this is kind of headed in the right direction, or go back to the old way and say everybody gets the same amount, and then we do things like we're doing tonight where chairman's transferring $500 from his account to cover.
Well, I would recommend, so that we don't have any fighting or any disagreements, do it as a line item. Disregard this, do it, because Nancy may not go to national. Jake, you didn't go to national this year. Why should we have to ask to have it given to us when technically it's in the line item that all we have to do is say we'd like to go to this and it gets approved? And that can be done in the June meeting that says, yeah, this is what each trustee's asked for.
And I think that was our intent with this, but if we didn't get that quite right, consensus of the board, let us know to go back to the drawing board. And this is, trustees, this is on page 50. It's an insert in page 50.
Okay. Why was it inserted and not in the book? Will it be, so this is going to be an actual part of the book then?
Yeah.
See, it's just,
that's the goal.
Yeah, I don't like that it's not in the actual book and it's just kind of slipped in. If it was gonna be a part of the actual budget, I think that it should be like a part of the budget, because then this could like, get lost, so I don't know about that.
Trustee Lee, it will be included. This is the draft book, so this is the first version that you get that just is a highlight of the budget. And then in June, you'll get that full, complete budget book with all the detail, and it's intended to be in the book.
So was this like an afterthought, or why wasn't this included in the book the first time?
It was given to me to be included in the book, but not when we did the original printing, because this isn't normally in our book. So we used the previous version.
No, it's not, because the years before, they've always approved line item. And I don't know why we would want to be doing and putting this in it, to be honest. I don't know about how you other trustees feel, but I know, Jim, you mentioned to me you thought it was all going to be one line when I asked you about it before.
No, this is closer to what we don't want is the unlimited runaway spending, and we have a trustee that keeps using the word, well, I'm a trustee, I'm entitled. We are not entitled. We still have to be responsible for a budget. I have one person that tells me they're very, very conservative, but yet wants to keep spending. And this is what this is to bring in line. Now, you mentioned somebody who doesn't use their budget. If what they want to go to is in January and February, and we've already spent our money, and that person can't go to the things they desired, even if they hadn't gone to anything else, your way means they can't go.
No, I'm not saying that. What I am
We
saying
can't have an
is-
unlimited budget as trustees.
No, Jim, the thing is, the trustees, you guys are limiting what trustees can go to. When trustees are eligible to go to any of these functions, the National Legislative Summit, all can go if they want to go. Anybody can go to the ACCT too, they're all eligible to go. All I'm saying is, let the trustees identify what they'd like to go to. This is common for all the schools to have the trustees say, this is what I'd like to attend. Then it's an approval. It's an approval at the June meeting that this is what they want to do. It's not overspending or anything. You still have $19,000 still sitting in our trustee account.
And that shouldn't be a slush fund for another trustee who thinks he's entitled to go to everything under the sun.
You have some trustees that like to go to things and like to be educated, and you have some that don't. So do not remove that opportunity, because Jim, some of us do like to go to things and do like to learn. And I'm gonna say.
And not everything you go to is a learning experience.
Well, that's your opinion, but.
We have to be good in good standing to go to these, and I'm not gonna beat a dead horse again today. So can we move on, please? Thank you.
The one item that's not on here is we talk about the ICCTA training that we have to go to on our first, third, and fifth year. That's done by Robin Schwartz. That has to be in this budget if we're gonna go this route. That has to be identified in here.
Chairman, I believe this FY, that's not required of any of the trustees. Correct me if I'm wrong, but years 1, 3, and 5, years 2 and, this is not years 1, 3, or 5.
Correct.
Does that make sense?
But this is for year ending June of 2025.
Correct. So
We'll
I
have
don't
We'll have an
believe,
election in April, and the conference in Bloomington will be before June 30th of 2025.
I think you get a time
that's
limit.
nice.
You can do it, I don't think it's being.
It might overlap.
so Brian, in terms of years 1, 3, and 5 training that the trustees have to do, so what the chair is raising is a great point. New trustees coming in, are they required to do their year 1 training before June 30th?
No, they're not required to do it by any specific
June
date
is when
other
we
than the
have
end of
the
their
training.
first year.
Right.
Now, that may be an opportunity that they'd like to take advantage of, but,
But it's not required.
right.
Right.
It's not required.
So it
but
could be in the
The
next-
ICCTA put it on in the first week in June last year. We were down there in June.
Okay. So considering that, I think we can make a modification for that. We can budget for, go ahead,
Okay.
Karen.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think
We
you
could
need
do
to
that.
make a modification on the National Legislative Summit, because it's not restricted to one student and one trustee. Everybody has the opportunity to be there to meet their legislators. That's what we are voted in to do, is to speak with our legislators.
We can address it as the time approaches and see how many trustees would like to go at that time.
That's what I'm saying. Get a consensus from each trustee.
Not tonight. Can we move on?
Any other questions for Karen or Jeff?
No, I just want to say thank you. You guys and your committee put in tireless hours on this, and this is not an easy document to together. So thanks for all your work, and thanks for another balanced budget this year. So.
Thank you.
In terms of one item, or some items that Trustee Broderick requested for you to share about expenditures, I think you addressed that in this meeting, and I think you addressed it in earlier finance meeting when we discussed positions that were open, that are being refurbished. Those, it's not necessary to bullet point every little thing. I mean, I know, and plus there's a lot of, in the Buildings and Grounds Committee, we covered, there's a lot of work that's being done where it's not costing us money because we have grants, correct?
Yes.
So that's been provided for us too, Maureen.
I'd like a number amount, because our fiduciary responsibility is to hear what we're saving And I think that's only appropriate to have, because I'm sorry, if I'm going to approve a budget that's got a 5.1 increase, I need to know what we've taken out to substantiate that.
It's not necessary. We're running a balanced budget, and we're not going to micromanage the staff.
It's not micromanaging. We have the entitlement to ask those questions.
And you're asking.
Yeah.
And there are positions that are being refurbished and they're being repurposed, and we're getting academic advisors.
So what
Any-
dollar
wait,
amount
wait,
is it?
Wait, stop. Any other questions for Jeff and Karen?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item 1.8.3, the Faculty Union Report. Dr. Bob Marsink.
Good evening, everybody. Chairman Budzinski, President Namuo, and the board, entire board. Based on an earlier conversation, apparently I'm now an honorary VP in charge of margaritas. When the lights went up, I thought I'd better order fast. So, I have a couple of quick things here for this evening. First of all, I want to, I didn't get a chance to welcome Ryan last meeting because I speak before he was actually signed in. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Board of Trustees. As Aisha's now no longer here. I usually clear the room pretty well before I speak. But
Yeah.
you have big shoes to fill with Aisha and Mr. Stamborski before you, but from everything I've seen and heard, you're up to the task, and we're looking forward to working with you. So, and Ryan, along with Ash, who is here, and Aisha, and Haley, who is here, I think are just incredibly great representatives of our students. They're just just hearing them speak, hearing the wonderful report that Aisha gave and Ash gave, we have some great students here. So I want to thank Amy and the Advisor Task Force for all the work they did. Amy really did lead that charge, even though she's probably not taking credit for it. Tremendous amount of work. And we absolutely agree with the board members that we need that support, and the students need that support. One or two more little things, and then I promise I'll be done. I was really glad to hear the proclamation for Juneteenth read this evening, and it's something and not just the reason why we have Juneteenth, but just for us to remain vigilant as we go forward, because there are those who would take us backward, or there are those who would stall progress, and it's important for us to keep remembering Juneteenth and other events that are important to the history of this nation. So that said, let me see if there's anything else. I think I covered what I wanted to cover tonight. I know we had a wonderful commencement last week. The speeches were great, especially the student speeches. And I'm glad that most of the board was able to get there that night. I think it's very important for the students to see you there. It's really important for them to know that they're supported by not just you and the administration, but also the faculty. That said, I am done for the evening, and thank you again, as always, for the opportunity. If there are any questions, good, thank you.
Item 1.8.4, Adjunct Faculty Union Report. We will not have a report tonight. Laurel will not be here. 1.8.5, Building and Grounds Committee Report. Jake Mahalik and Ryan Queenie.
Ryan says he's confident to start it off, and we're gonna just go at it as it is. So
Yeah, so we did meet today. We had our meeting in 10:02 at 4:30. We talked about, we went over old business at the college, talking about the replacement of the G building switch gear, talk about the replacement of the B building main power transformer.
Yep, the transformer was done. The switchgear will start next Thursday. Next Thursday, it's a 2-day project, so it should be completed on Friday, so.
Yes. Then we also did talk about the AHU replacement CDB project, which I believe they're working on installing the roof.
It's a rooftop unit.
Yeah,
So it looks like it's gonna begin soon, I think, next Tuesday is when the start date is, I think, on that as well, so.
Yeah. And then they're also replacing the IT service room, which I believe they're starting that next Tuesday as well.
Yep.
And then they're working on starting or to replace the boiler in T building with the condensing boiler, which.
It's in process now, yep, that's correct.
Then they're also going to be building an H stair tread replacement, or building H stair tread replacement, excuse me.
Yeah, these are the treads that we have, so we make sure no one slips
Yep.
going down the stairs, obviously, so.
Yes. Then our building H HVAC unit replacement, which is again over by the bridge, and that's just gonna help keep it, the
Cool.
temperature more regulated over in that building.
The contract was issued for that, yes.
Okay,
so-
good.
So,
Yes, and then pavement maintenance 2024 program, which I believe they're starting tomorrow with concrete and just.
this is contract work, it's patching work, so when
Yeah,
you're
definitely.
redoing surfaces, you gotta fill the potholes and make sure they're solid before you can do anything. So they're gonna begin doing that, and then after that, we're gonna repave certain sections of the parking lot. And this is done in a periodic way, so we do not disrupt traffic around the college campus a lot, so.
Yes, and then
Okay.
they're also going to be they'll be starting work on the facade repairs
Mhm.
coming up, which they'll be power washing and painting those to
Yep.
make them nicer and more, update them.
More
make them-
eye-friendly.
Yes,
Yeah, so
make them
sounds
look
good.
nicer.
So.
Yes, and then they did also finish the CNA lab at Romeoville campus, which is just wonderful.
I think the word was finally completed.
Yes.
Finally,
completed.
so.
Yes,
Mhm.
that we are waiting to start work with the Building A Testing Center HVAC renovations, which I believe they'll be starting in June with contractors.
Yep, it starts construction in June, yep, you got that right.
And then they're replacing the just lighting around campus, and that's just part of the grant, which I know they've talked about using some of the money from one of the grants, another from another area.
Yeah, it looks like this is gonna be covered, not gonna be any cost to college. There's a 200,000 grant was received, and then there's also another 200,000 grant from ISN.
Yes.
That was received as well, so that looks like it's a good news, no expense to the college on that one as well, so.
Do you hear? 200,000. There's your numbers. Twice. That's 400,000. Sorry.
Okay, we still got a couple other things to go. As we heard tonight, the mental health space is going out for bid in June. And project bids, the vet tech edition, it begins June 4th and
I
through
think,
10th?
so yeah, I think they are talking about that they're looking to get started that June 4th through the 10th, and then there's gonna be a project that'll run, I think, until the spring
Yeah.
semester of 2025, which they're hoping to have it
So it
done
won't-
by the time those classes
It won't
start.
be completed right away, so. With that being said, congratulations, Ryan, this is your first B&G report, nice work.
Thank you.
That's it, so.
All right.
Any questions for the Building and Ground Committee? Item 1.8.6, Board Policy Committee Report. Michelle Lee.
All right, so we have a few policies up for first read. This month, Officers of the Board talks about the positions for our executive officers, and it is adding in a clause stating that we are going to be going in line with our state statutes, so that was added. And then there was also a clause added for a trustee in good standing. And so this is basically stating that if the board censures you or if the board has a vote of no confidence in you, you are not allowed to be an officer of the board. So that was added to that policy. The next policy is trustee development for the Board of Trustees, and this policy has quite a few changes as well. These policies are all basically all rewritten, so you might want to read them because I did not write them, nor did Nancy, so they were brought to us and we just kind of went over them. So we did not write these with these policies, and there are many, many changes that I had expressed in the policy committee I was not comfortable with. Certain aspects of this good standing, particularly that I would like to tell you all that, and I know that they're saying excused absences is, but per the Illinois state statute and state code, there is a certain amount of board meetings that you are not allowed to miss. You have to be here for 70% of the meetings. Anything after that, then there is repercussions for that. What this is stating is not just board meetings, but it is stating every retreat, every committee meeting, everything, that if you miss any of those things, you are at risk for not being in good standing. And there are excused absences, which pretty much cover everything, but that's pretty much at the discretion of our secretary and I'm sorry, I don't know that she's our board secretary. So she's the president's secretary and the chair's secretary. That you call into her to tell her about your absences. So what if she doesn't think that you gave her enough time? Or the board chair doesn't, or the president doesn't. So there's a lot of concerns with this trustee in good standing. I feel like it could almost be used against you if you're not doing approved behavior by whoever is in those, positions of power on this board. There's also no remedy for how to get back into good standing, which is a concern for me, that was brought to my attention by Garcia Gann, who is not here to speak on this behalf. So I definitely think that these need to go back to committee just so we can have some sort of allocation of how to get back in good standing once you are not in good standing any longer. So that's officers of the board, and trustee development is the same way. We added the trustee in good standing, so that will be affecting, whether or not you're able to go to some of these conferences that Maureen has been stating through the budget. She's worried about, not being allowed to go to some of these things. So that was also added in trustee development as well. There's many, many changes in trustee development that you all might want to take a look at. The chair is given more power if a training session, conference, or event is approved by the chair and fits within the budget allocated for the trustees, reimbursement for the associated expenses can be expected. So it does definitely kind of give the chair that power to say whether or not you're even allowed to go to certain things, which I had a concern about that because I think that we're all equal. He has control over the agenda. We do, have our own equal votes. So for him to be able to make that decision, I thought personally it should come to a board vote for that particular part. So I was kind of trying to look for a consensus on that part, on the trustee development budget. So there's a lot of changes in trustee development budget. Again, I'm not really comfortable with all of them. Then there's board travel. So again, that good standing was put in there. It was the only change to board travel, which again, we have already talked about the travel budget tonight. So just kind of, we really need to make sure that there's a way to get back in good standing once you're not in good standing, and a process for that, because just basically saying, oh, you're not in good standing, you're not allowed to do any of these things. So the next policy that is up is trustee travel budget. And again, so the first one was more of the development budget, was more of which conferences and stuff. This one is specific to travel, and the only thing that was added again was the trustee in good standing. The next one that we have are meeting of the board. And so there, we stated some Illinois Open Meetings Act in the very first paragraph there to make sure that we were in compliance with that, and stated that. And then as well as there are some other changes in the bottom of it as far as voting and roll call versus,
Voice.
roll call versus voice vote. So that was put in there to be specific. So that one, I didn't have too much of a problem with, but, just concerns in general about all of these policies that are up for first read. The next one is consultant services. We had gone back and forth on this. I did finally receive some of the consulting, the contracts that I had requested to say, okay, well, we're going from, you know, an appropriate agreement to, or to a, it's not even in here, the wording of the original one, actually. A professional service agreement. Yes, it is. There it is. Okay, so we're going from a professional service agreement to an appropriate agreement. I had questions on exactly what that appropriate agreement might be. They sent me over contracts. I still have not seen the, we did. She brought the procedure to the last meeting. We were able to see that, excuse me, I had made a note that I didn't, but then she brought it to the meeting. Thank you, Karen, I appreciate that. So the only thing about this is the money allocation here that I just want to point out for consulting services amounting to $25,000 or more, an appropriate written agreement, which I don't really know that we agreed on a money amount in the policy committee, and that money amount being added in there. It wasn't in the first one. I would think we would need an appropriate agreement for anything, not just things over $25,000 or more. So that's a little concerning to me as well, that that money amount was added in there, and that, well, what do we use for anything under $25,000 then? What kind of agreement do we use then? Is there a policy for that? I don't know. The next one was sale and disposal of college property, which we have again been back and forth on this one. And we added personal property and kind of tried to clarify that language of what that personal property was. And at the bottom, we did add that this is not referring to real property, and that we would go according to the Illinois state statutes. So that one I am fine with, finally. Put that one through if everyone would like. The rest of them, my recommendation is to send them back to committee.
Item 1.8.7, Finance Committee report. Will there be a report?
Jeff and Karen gave my report tonight.
Thank you. Item 1.8.8, the President's report. Dr. Namuel.
All right, Chairman, thank you so much. As my presentation's brought up here, I'm going to reach over and steal the slider clicker here. I want to give the board an update on a few things. This is my opportunity to just highlight a lot of the good work that's being done by the leaders, our faculty, and our staff, and share with you, well, first of all, I think we can share this. Karen, can we share? Chief Campbell had a baby girl last night. Oh my God. Yeah, so I just wanted to. Vivian, Chief
So
Campbell
he's got
and
a Livy
Kate.
and a Vivi.
Yes, mom and baby are happy and healthy, and so he canceled my one-on-one yesterday. I'm like, oh yeah, what's the excuse this time? Turns out he had a good one. He had a good one. I got a couple of notes here. Just want to add in regards to the entryways initiative, that'll be at all locations, not just at main campus. And really my vision, my expectation there is when students walk into the college for the very first time, that they be greeted with an immersive experience. And so I'm really looking forward to what our marketing department, working with our other leaders, are able to come up with. Yeah. Want to share with the board, and I've shared with you, our approach to providing our employees with fair compensation beyond simply just their salary and their traditional normal benefits. And as I've shared with the board, we've explored doing a pilot this year whereby we're allowing employees to buy back a certain number of hours. And so I just wanted to report on the success of that buyback. There were 95 individuals, non-union individuals, who were eligible to sell back 80 hours from their vacation bank. And all told, 33 employees elected to sell anywhere from 17 to the full 80 hours back. So about a third of them took advantage of this. The total expense, and I put that in air quotes because there's no expense, we're still required to account for these hours, was $117,500 with an average buyback total of $3,560. So 33 employees on June 27th will sell back 80 hours and receive a check for $3,560. I want to give a big shout out to HR for working with me on that one and thinking creatively about the different ways to value our employees. Judy, thank you for that. Of course, 2024 commencement was certainly something to celebrate for a lot of different reasons. Want to thank the board for your strong showing there. I've got a image of the trustees there greeting all of our graduates, and as Dr. Marsing said, it does say a lot to our students to receive handshakes from all on the platform. For those of you who aren't aware already, we had a record number of graduates walking across stage, and isn't that what it's all about? Isn't that what it's all about? Nearly 700 participating graduates walking across the stage, and I might say, you know, to the graduation committee specifically, we made a few adjustments that made the ceremony so efficient. Students, you know, processed in a very efficient and quick manner. We shook hands and took pictures in an efficient manner, all the while honoring every single one of those graduates. And trustees, we shook 693 hands, if you're counting.
Yeah, sweaty.
Okay.
Some were sweaty, some were not sweaty.
Okay. And of course, our graduates and student trustee Queenie was up there on our stage to kind of greet everyone. There's Aisha, there's Ash. And this, I thought, just a fun thing to share is just a drone view before the ceremony, or perhaps this was after the ceremony. I can't remember which one. Not only did we have 700 graduates, but we had nearly 4,000 people in attendance. So, and behind the scenes, tremendous effort, right? From campus police to facilities to media services, keeping us all safe, keeping the ceremony proceeding in an orderly way. I mean, to manage a venue of 4,000 plus the way we did, credit to all of our leaders, our faculty and staff for doing so. I want to share with the board, as I've shared with you previously, but for the college community, this is certainly something to celebrate. Every 10 years, we receive our accreditation from the Higher Learning Commission, one of formerly known as regional accrediting bodies. Now, accrediting bodies can serve regions outside of just their geographic area. For example, prior to 2 years ago, HLC served the 19 middle states. Right? Now they actually have institutions that are in other states. So what I want to highlight for you, and I know it's tough to see, but I'm just going to talk you through it. Over on the left-hand side, you've got, I believe it's 18 different core components. HLC visits us, had an opportunity to meet with the board, had an opportunity to meet with different individuals and groups across the college. We are scored on 18 different criteria, right? 18 different core components. The word on the right-hand side can either be not met, which means the institution is on probation. If they fail to meet a specific part of the scorecard, you go straight onto probation. Another grade here is a met with concerns, which means, well, you meet it, but you have some work to do. That typically requires some additional work in the form of what's called interim monitoring, a report that's submitted to HLC in 2 or 3 years. We got a perfect score. We got a perfect score. Let me pause for applause. We got perfect score. So that's credit to, of course, all of us, really. So we should all be celebrating this. We've chosen the standard pathway. Only what that means is in 4 years, we'll submit a smaller document to HLC. And of course, in 10 years, we'll have a comprehensive evaluation that mirrors the one we just had in the fall. So kudos to all of our staff, and our accreditation letter is there on the website if you're interested. So I want to again thank the board for supporting, the different ways I engage with the academy, with higher education, both as a scholar and a president. Over on the left-hand side, boy, oh boy, we're missing Dr. Gray there. JJC now can proudly claim 5 Higher Learning Commission peer reviewers, and 4 of them are located there. And Dr. Gray, I think, was in parts unknown, some tropical location, who knows. But the 4 of us went to HLC to engage in their annual conference, where I'm, again, part of the diversity committee, stepping away as a chair, and I'm also a member of the Institutional Actions Council, which is the highest governing body at HLC. So I just want to congratulate, I think formally, for the very first time, Dr. Farmer and Karen Kissel for becoming HLC peer reviewers, joining that very cool club of only about 1,000 people across the nation. So Karen and Dr. Farmer, congratulations. So I had the opportunity to serve on a presidential panel with Dr. Tina King with the San Diego Community College District, Dr. Nick Newpower with Butler County Community College District in Pittsburgh. And our session here was for the Council for the Study of Community Colleges. They invited me, flew me out there to share some equity-related thoughts on leadership. What is it like leading, using and applying an equity lens? I was able to share a lot of things to the audience of about 300 individuals. From there, on the left-hand side, I was able to celebrate with people who look very much like me. That's not a thing I can say quite often here in the Midwest. This was the group, there's a White House initiative on Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders, and there was a gathering of higher education leaders. Not many of them from Illinois, so I was maybe perhaps just one of a handful engaging in topics that are passionate to Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders. I was really thankful that the cabinet joined me in Louisville and Dr. Farmer in Louisville. This is a panel that I participated in with 3 other community college presidents. We served on a panel for new CEOs. So those, the presidents there had been in the roles for about 3 years, approximately. We had an audience with their new CEO Academy, as run through the American Association of Community Colleges. Thankful to share some knowledge and wisdom with that group, and present as well with Dr. Gray, with Dr. Farmer on something called 12 by 12 by 12. If you haven't already heard of it, I'll tell you all about it later. I do want to take just a moment to send a shout out to our Disability Club. This was really a fantastic thing. As many of you know, I do Open Gym with the president. I was approached by Mason, one of our students who is active with the Disability Awareness Club, and really challenged me and said, why don't we do wheelchair basketball instead? So in coordination with our Office of Disability Services, the Disability Club, we engaged the Lincoln Way Special Rec Association, who came down, provided wheelchairs for everyone. And I'll tell you, at Open Gym with the president, we might get 10 to 15. We had nearly 40 people participate. And so it really allowed us to kind of shine a light on disability services here at the college, the things we do. And when you think about applying an equity lens, really, diversity of our students is on full display and should include an emphasis on what we do for our disabled students. Perhaps you've heard Joliet Junior College is leading the way. We've partnered with an organization called Canyon GBS. We have launched an artificial intelligence tool that is higher ed compliant, and there are very few of those out there. Dr. Jeff Bradford talked about his speech being written by Microsoft Copilot, you'll recall, at the graduation. And you should have seen the audience. There was shuffling in their seats. A lot of them were uncomfortable because he had just admitted that he used AI to write most of his graduation speech. Well, he was sending a very specific message to the audience that the responsible use of AI is going to be very important to industries across the country. So we're doing our part here at JJC, aligning with an institution, rather an organization that provides AI that's higher ed compliant. So earlier this week, each week I send a weekly report to the board, and I'm giving away some trade secrets here. It pops up in their inbox every morning at 5 a.m. Many of them think I'm up at 5 a.m. because I am up at 5 a.m., but I actually craft that Sunday night and schedule it to send. I know Trustee Harris, I'm trying to avoid eye contact because she thinks I'm hitting the button at 5 a.m. every Monday morning, and some don't. So it's a trade secret. And so when I sent the email, when I had it scheduled send, we had received word that we had just received one of two State of Illinois CJA grants. So in 2021, State of Illinois passed the Clean Energy Jobs Act, right? Funneled tons of money, tons of resources to community colleges and workforce organizations across the state of Illinois. So we submitted two big grants. One of them was for $1 million to be the entrepreneurial hub. So we're about to see $1 million funneled to our EBC to support individuals who are interested in starting their own businesses in the electric vehicle space. Okay? So that's something to celebrate. Before I pause for applause, then I prematurely notified the board of another award, which I had been told we had gotten, and we just hadn't received the letter. So I sent an update to my update to the board and said, by the way, we haven't quite received it just yet. Later that afternoon, we got the letter. So I hold in my hands two letters that could be worth nearly $10 million. So let me explain what I mean by that. So the second one, and many of you are reading the details here, I encourage you to do so. The asterisk is just because we haven't signed a final agreement. The actual dollar amounts are going to depend on a negotiation between JJC and DCEO, the state of Illinois. But what we've submitted for, and I'm going to highlight the CJA Workforce Network up top, okay? There are 13 of these networks across Illinois. What we've submitted for is for 3 years at $3 million a year, okay? So we've been awarded officially, we just have to negotiate the terms. So as you all are considering, the budget and what that means to our day-to-day operations here and how we're able to kind of fund some of our strategic initiatives aligned with our strategic plan, know that over the next 3 years, we could be seeing a historic amount of extramural funding coming from the state of Illinois, leading us to be the leader in EV training and workforce, right? So certainly something to celebrate, and want to thank the Grants Office, want to thank the Workforce Development Office, want to thank Dr. Gray and her leadership on the academic side as well. That's a component. We'll be adding some positions as a result. So once we finalize this agreement, we'll bring that to the board and kind of give you a more detailed look at what this could mean for JJC.
Great work, Dr.
Yes,
Namuel.
thank you. My name's on the letter, but it's all of these amazing people who do all of this great work. We should all be celebrating. So somewhat related, and this is just a teaser. Make note of the teaser here. We're not quite ready to reveal this yet, but we're also working on a partnership with Lion Electric. Now, this is something that will put us on the forefront of the forefront. And what I mean by that specifically is medium, heavy-duty EVs, okay? So not just light-duty for those who drive things like Teslas, medium, heavy-duty like school buses, for example, okay? And other trucks that are electric vehicles. will all be made out of Lion Electric's 1 million square foot facility on the edge of Joliet and Channahon. There's an opportunity that's been presented to us through the state of Illinois to potentially partner with Lion Electric and occupy some of their space, funded almost entirely by the state of Illinois Department of, I'll just call them DCEO. So that is emerging, and the reason I put the 3 letters there, MTA specifically, is as you search for this and as you Google manufacturing training academies across the state of Illinois, you'll discover Heartland's partnership with Rivian. You'll discover Richland's partnership with a battery manufacturer. So what we're aspiring to create is something similar, but different in that we won't build our own building. Instead, we'll occupy a space on their production floor so our students will get to learn there. Okay? All right. Last teaser. So chairman and trustees, you saw in the budget $100,000 for design thinking initiatives. And I've kind of revealed how we're able to do all of these cool things that we've been able to do over the last couple of years. It's through a framework called design thinking. A big part of design thinking is prototyping. What Karen Kissel alluded to is about 9 months ago, I challenged the cabinet to engage in design thinking projects and assign them in pairs to go out and create something truly extraordinary. The Future Wolves Initiative is one of those. And this was an initiative that was led by Dr. Escortina Irvin and Christy Mulvey, working together to design an initiative geared toward kindergarten through 5th graders. So I don't want to spoil it, Escortina, I want to spoil it. Over the next couple of months, we'll reveal the details of this initiative. I can reveal that our 2 feeder districts, our 2 pilot districts, are District 86 and Troy 30C. So we're starting with those 2, and really, like, how do our students come to us? Some of them through aggressive marketing campaigns that they see ads on TV or on the web or in different ways. Others, it just could be a chance interaction. It could be a field trip to Joliet Junior College as a 3rd grader. It could be participating in the Kid Chef for a day when they were a 1st grader at Farragut Elementary with District 86. So what we're attempting to do is really provide not the full and complete JJC experience to kindergartners through 5th graders, but to provide some experience. In July, both Dr. Irvin and Christy Mulvey have created a camp that's for specifically Troy School District and District 86. We'll have 48 kids from those 2 districts, bless you, on campus. Our intent is to really grow Kids College here at JJC. So we will be revealing this completely at the August meeting, So just know that we've got a really cool logo, but there's more to it than just that. And with that, Chairman, I yield. Thank you. Oh, no, I don't. I lied. The ERT would have been so very upset with me. Each semester, bless you. Each month, I try to highlight a specific group. As most likely you've seen, college campuses, university campuses across the country have really grappled with some unrest, whether it be protests related to Israel and Gaza or ongoing racial discrimination issues. While colleges really should be a place for civil discourse, right, and thoughtful debate, we're seeing across the country that a lot of that is boiling over into violence and uncivil discourse. So it really got me thinking about a group that is in place at JJC that is both reactive and proactive. It's a group of cross-functional representation from facilities to campus police to many of our executive leaders here, that as issues arise, and perhaps it's more appropriate to say before issues arise. This is the group that comes together to determine what to do if and when something were to happen. This is the group that works actively behind the scenes to keep all of us safe. They may not be on display, they may not be posted outside, they may not be readily visible, but this is the team that works collaboratively to keep the entire campus safe proactively. So I just wanted to acknowledge all of them: Tracy Williams, Judy Connolly, Cindy Vasquez Barrios, Pat Van Dyne, Katie Smith, Kelly Roder-Tonelli, Yolanda Farmer, Chris Ostwinkle, Bob Morris, Kara Anderson, Nick Shakota, Brandon Campbell, Amy Gray, Karen Kissel, and Sergeant Jeff Smith. So if you all would all join me in giving them a huge round of applause for keeping us, all of us, safe. And Chairman, with that, I promise I yield. Thank you.
I do have a comment. Going through, when we go for the ICCTA meetings, we are eligible to go through the campuses. And I did send Kelly some pictures that were in the Illinois Valley one that I was really excited about seeing, that they did identify all of the different buildings, and I thought that was a real nice thing. Even the board of directors, where they have the board meeting, they had a certain thing developed just for the past ones that had been there that made a mark. Not like just Bob or whatever, but they had a wall dedicated to those that had been on there. And Kelly, if you don't have the pictures still, I still have them, I'd be glad to share them. But when we go to these campuses like Blackhawk College, Lakeland, Parkland, it's amazing when you walk into their campuses and you look at what they have. They market them so that you see what that building is all about, just like their nursing building. It was intensified with everything they have, and I just enjoy it, because walking through as guests, we get to see everything. And it's really intensifies the fact that they do a great job in marketing. So I applaud that.
It took me a while to pick up what you're throwing down there, Trustee Broderick, but yes to all of that. As you, for example, enter our vet tech building, I mean, we could do so much with the exterior to show students and to highlight all the cool things going on inside, because you walk inside and it's incredible, but that's not what you see from the outside. And on and on and on. Automotive is probably one of them. All of our fine arts over on the other side. So absolutely, and that's what we're hoping to change.
Yeah, and then I wanted to ask you one thing too. Canyon, you said it was from Phoenix, right? Canyon
Yes,
PBS.
yes.
Were you familiar with them?
Yes, yes.
Was that the same gentleman that came to your cabinet meeting?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So he has been doing this for a long time with the AI? Because we always love to engage, because we did the seminar on AI for the ICCTA last time.
Yeah. So Dr. Mark Cohn was formerly the CIO of the Maricopa system. He and his deputy CIO and former provost of the Maricopa system went off and created their own entity, funded in part by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So they're a startup looking to do more in this space. They just so happen to have created a tool that people are really interested in, because our students, some of our employees allegedly are using ChatGPT and Microsoft Copilot. But when you use these tools, you should not, FERPA, let's take FERPA for example. Like, we shouldn't enter sensitive information into AI. That doesn't, with this tool, it stays in our instance. It doesn't go to the cloud in Seattle or in California, wherever it is. So that's just one example of how the tool is currently being used out of compliance, whereas this tool brings you in compliance.
Have we thought then, because when we talk about the decennial topics, have we thought about even extending this to our high schools? Because subbing, we're hearing a lot of AI that's coming through for their papers and all that stuff that they're requiring to do, and the teachers now are trying to learn what AI is all about. So I just thought I'd introduce that, because when you're in the lead high schools and you hear what's going on, and these teachers have no idea, they think it's AI, they don't know it's AI, they don't know how to tackle it. I'm just saying, maybe this is something.
Maybe having a seminar here at the college and inviting a doctor, say his name again. I'm sorry.
Cone.
Thank you.
It's Cone. Yeah, it's Cone.
I just didn't want to mess it up. Maybe inviting him and inviting some of our advisors, or particularly not necessarily those who are the VPs and presidents or superintendents of the schools, but maybe those who are actually in advising or teachers that would want to come, and kind of put that invite out there to not just those higher up, though they should come as well, but also the actual teachers. Maybe that's something JJC can host.
Absolutely. And we have a group that's being run by Dave Lance and
Amy Walker.
Amy Walker out of the library, a task force on that. And so what we're doing is we're running everything through that task force. Yeah.
We look forward to hearing that,
Yes.
that conference.
Yes.
I will come. I love hearing about the AI.
Yes.
Just one comment. Thank you for your thoughtful report
Thank you.
and all of the hard work that you're doing and still managing this board. So thank you.
Who's laughing?
One thing I was going to mention is I really enjoyed the Future Wolves initiative
Yes.
with District 86 and Troy Schools. I know it's K through 5, but move 100% full force ahead. But in the future, maybe can we include the middle schools?
Yeah.
That's just something. I think kids really remember that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're getting close to high school and they have to start thinking of pathways in high school. And if they already have that experience in 6th, 7th, or 8th grade, it'll just be fresh in their memory. You know, just, I don't know. I just want to see it expanded too. Just because I went to the Polished Pebbles and
Yes. Yes.
none of those students were our district,
Yeah.
but they really enjoyed it. And so I'd like to see this kind of parallel
Yeah.
with Polished Pebbles. But thank you for everything.
No, absolutely, and appreciate that. And we have a group working on a 6 through 8 initiative, but I've said too much.
Oh, okay. Thank
Said
you.
too much.
I knew
The
you were
design
on it.
thinking, yeah.
Okay.
I saw Dr. Irvin give you an evil stare too.
Yeah.
Ready to move on?
Yes.
Item 1.9.1, approval of minutes for the regular meeting held on April 10th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Broderick?
Yes.
Trustee Garcia Guillen? Oops, sorry. Trustee Harris?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Mahalik?
Yes.
Trustee Queenie?
Yes.
Trustee Bazinski?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 1.9.2, the approval of minutes for the special meeting held on May 15th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Broderick?
Yes.
Trustee Harris?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Mahalik?
Yes.
Trustee Queenie?
Yes.
Trustee Bazinski?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 1.10, the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Item 1.11, approval of consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
I'd like to pull certain items.
Yes, please.
Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. 2.13, 3.1, 3.2.3, 3.2.7, 3.2.9, 3.2.10, 3.2.11, 3.2.12, and 3.4. Did you want to pull it down?
You pulled it.
Any other items? Take the roll, please.
Trustee Harris?
Yes.
Trustee Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Broderick?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Mahalik?
Yes.
Trustee Queenie?
Yes.
Trustee Bazinski?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 2.1.3. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
My question is this. I want to make sure, I mean, I know we talked about this position, but I want to make sure that this person that's being brought up will have higher education compliance and accountability matrix and the ICCB civil rights self-assessment done, and that this person will also be the Title IX coordinator and FOIA coordinator, as well as an ethics officer and the ADA and the Section 504 coordinator that will be under FERPA, Title IX, and record retention as the previous compliance officer Tracy was?
Trustee Broderick, thanks for your question. So after Tracy left, we've since kind of reassigned some of those duties that you referenced. So I'm going to ask either Judy or Karen to kind of talk through the current job description and expectations of this position, and perhaps others on the cabinet to determine kind of where some of those other things went, because they went to other individuals. And Trustee Broderick, we might need a restatement of the list again.
No, I think I got all the essential components. So in this
Never
position,
mind.
I think she's got that list.
I'm
in the
impressed.
position, several of the things with certainty I can say, this person will serve as the ethics officer, the Title IX coordinator, the FOIA officer, the Section 504 coordinator, lead the compliance and accountability cross-functional team, which the HECA, we call it the Higher Education Compliance Matrix, is part of. That was here before Tracy, and then it was built out, and we continue to refer to that. It'll also have oversight for risk management, environmental health and safety, and serve on the policy committee. The one thing I'm not certain about, Dr. Irvin might recall, the previous compliance officer did complete the civil rights assessment, and we have used that as like a working document to make some adjustments, and it was like a soft audit. It was voluntary as far as I know. I don't know what the requirement is for that to be repeated in subsequent years or the frequency, so that I couldn't speak to, but I know it was.
Because I saw that was out there, that Tracy had done that too.
Yes.
Because especially with the Title IX and the civil rights, it seemed like it flowed together.
Yes, I just don't, again, it was helpful to inform some of the things that we're doing in athletics. We used some of the pieces for HR. It was a very broad assessment. I just don't know, Brian, if you know, it was done a couple of years ago, yeah. We still refer to it, but I just don't know how frequently it needs
Okay,
to
and
be.
you said that all of the positions that you just mentioned would be there, that she'd be taking care of, correct?
Yes.
So the responsibilities would switch from the FOIA to her then?
Yes, we would have some sort of training and transition period
Okay.
for all of those. yeah.
Okay. And then as far as, will she be also responsible for any election issues? Because that's what Tracy had handled too. Any petitions coming in, any things regarding that?
Not certain about the election.
We didn't discuss that.
Because that's what Tracy did. And as regards, will she be involved with the policy then?
Yes, she will be involved in policy.
Okay, that will be the policy then. Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments?
As a part of the policy committee that requested this position be filled, I have already expressed that I feel like we should have seen the qualifications of the top three candidates versus just getting one recommendation of one candidate, and we're not able to see the qualifications of the other top three candidates to make our decision. So I do not feel comfortable with this decision.
Any other comments?
I would just like to say that thank you for the work of the committee that does the interviews. But I think as a board, the expectation always is that a recommendation is brought to the board after the committee does their due diligence and you vet all of the candidates. We have to trust that our staff knows what they're doing, and that they are recommending the best candidate forward. And in this particular case, I believe we're also giving upward mobility to an internal candidate to continue to grow and thrive. So thank you for all of your work, and I just want to express that.
Any other comments?
I just respectfully disagree. I understand that we should trust our administration. I don't think that there's anything wrong in doing due diligence and being able to look at all of the top three candidates, and I don't think that that should be considered micromanaging to just simply want to look at the top three candidates.
Karen, can you take the vote, please?
Trustee Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
No.
Trustee Broderick?
Pass.
Trustee Harris?
Yes.
Trustee Queenie?
Yes.
Trustee Bazinski?
Yes.
Trustee Broderick?
You forgot me too.
Jake?
Oh, Trustee Mahalik?
Yes.
Trustee Broderick?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 3.1, listing of bills. Trustee Broderick?
Need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I had talked to Karen Kissel about this, but I wanted everybody to be familiar, 'cause I wanted to make sure we all understood this. On page 1 of the board approval for the bills to be approved, under Isaac Miller, there's there's 4 of those identified for 19,000. And I was concerned about why we were paying so much. Karen addressed it, and I don't know, Karen, if you want me to say it or if you want to say what it is, because you addressed that
You can go ahead and say it.
You can do it, okay, thank you.
She was saying.
Oh, me, oh, okay, sorry. That basically we approved a total amount of 154 or
154,000.
154,000. 40,000 of that was for travel, lodging, meals, whatever, which I didn't understand that part, right?
Right, which
Okay.
they've expended nothing. Everything we've done has been remote to date.
Right. And the other portion of it, which was the 114, was for the direct employment. So my concern came when I found that out. I was like, will we get any cut of the 40,000? Because I'm concerned when we did the presidential search, our fee of what we had to do for search included everything, that we didn't have to go extra for travel, lodging, because they basically did everything online and Zoom called. So we didn't have any travel, we didn't have any lodging.
Correct.
So I'm asking.
If they don't expend those monies, we will not be paying that. We're merely paying the 114,000 right now, which are the payments that are included in this book.
Have we had any results from it as far as any candidates yet that have come forward since we're paying? I mean, if you look at I'm going 20,000, 80,000, and 114 is what we have to pay for that service. Have we gotten anything? Because I feel that we've put a bunch of money out thus far by paying this and approving this. Have we gotten anything in response?
I can't comment on the candidates, but I can say that we've met with the vendors as a cabinet and individually to talk about, what skills we want in these individuals, what qualifications they have, the fit in the organization. I'm not responsible for these 2 particular searches, but we're moving forward to pull together that and post them. Anything further on that, Judy? No?
Would that not have been identified in the job description, though, of what you were looking for? Because when we did that with the presidential search, we never had them talking to us. They looked at the resume, and then all the resumes came in, and the search person said, these look like the best ones qualified. We had 29. We narrowed it down to 12, and then the committee then started going through each of those resumes. So I'm just asking for familiarity because of cost factor of how it was decided that way versus doing what we did.
Yeah, Trustee Broderick, thank you for your question. So we're earlier in the process than kind of what you described. I would say we're in the listening phase at this point. Judy, you want to? Okay.
I was just going to say stakeholder feedback and
Yeah.
interaction.
Right. So we're not quite there yet.
Okay.
But we're progressing.
So when do we have to pay the balance of this? Is this next month that we have to pay?
The third section of the bills will be in June. So we've paid 19,000. The first 19 was due in the 30-day mark. The next 19,000 was due at the 60-day mark. 19 per search for each one of those days. And then the last payment is going to be due in June.
Okay, so.
For each one of the searches, another 19,000.
So even though we haven't received results yet of candidates, and I would imagine that's what I'm hearing, we're still going to pay out?
Correct, that's part of the agreement.
They're doing the work. They're getting there.
Yeah, well, we didn't pay out till we had finality with who we picked on our president. So that's why I'm asking, because it was a whole different ballgame on how we did it and very cost sensitive. So do appreciate that. Then I have a question too on page 2 that's coming up. Lisa Villalobos, will we still be doing and using her services? because that still is an expense that's out there. And now that we have the new start with the project managers, and her services are supposed to end of June, will we still be utilizing her?
Judy?
I believe in June that there'll also be a presentation to the board on the ERP. We are considering whether we will need Lisa in the future, so I want to leave that open. Again, she's augmenting staff responsibilities regarding the ERP, which is now kind of ramped up in a new way with our move over to colleague and running 2 ERPs. So I'm just kind of leaving it open and further conversations with Dr. Namuo and Dr. Farmer over the next few weeks, what that might look like. Again, from the HR budget, not from the ERP budget.
Okay, so from the HR budget. And then if that is possible, can we see what your needs are for still using her if you do decide to do that? Because I think when we've used all the money for going for the ERP and for the project managers, and we're doing 5,000 or so a month with her, or a little bit less, it would be nice for us to know what her actual duties are with HR.
And she provides a weekly report, so I have all of that information, exactly how she spends her time.
Good.
She does a detailed bill every month, so it's well tracked and tightly held so that we're not
Right.
misusing or overusing.
Well, I guess with the success that we've had with finance and HR with Workday, I would think that it's going to be de-minimized from what I've heard from everybody that has Workday with HR. They say it's easy to, it's an easier position than it was with the student situation. So I'm just asking if we have to, employ her still, to please give us why,
Yeah.
what she'd be doing.
And we still have things on the horizon like Workday Learning and things that we haven't fully activated in Workday that we're working on building out as well.
Okay, and that's why I'm trying to figure out if the ones that we've hired, the project managers, aren't responsible for that now, going forward. So that's where I'm asking as a board fiscal position. And then I had seen the email that came in regards to, and this is on the ones that are less than 5,000, and I have asked Karen Kissel in regards to, because on Google, in our board email that we get, it shows the same account number that I'm looking at for Google, which is over 10,000 every month. And Brian, I did see your email. However, when I'm looking at what we see in print, it says the same account number or same invoice, whatever you want to call it. So that's where my concern elevated. Karen, did you find out anything in regards to what's showing up on Workday then?
I did. I responded to Trustee Harris's question this afternoon that came in about Google. The account number that's on there is an ad number, and that's how Google manages all of the advertising they do for us. This is the relationship with Google and how they bill is very similar to your iPass transponder. Okay. So we prepay $500 for Google services, and every time someone clicks on a different ad, they charge us. So what you see in the bills book is a payment to Google. It's not an invoice, but Google tracks us by that account number ADS 442. So that's what you see next to Google Ads 442. That's how they know it's JJC. So each time somebody clicks, when it gets to 500, they just replenish another 500 and another 500. There's detail behind all this that goes through marketing, but what comes to us in accounting is the charge through the credit card. So marketing knows exactly how many clicks each and every ad gets that they do, and that's how we're billed.
Okay, so then I wasn't wrong in asking to see that it be put up or at least identified, since it's with the same thing as far as what you're seeing. So that's why I brought that up. So Brian, I wanted to make sure you understood why I asked about that, because I kept seeing the same number on the line items, and I felt that we were responsible then for putting it on this report versus the revolving report. So due consideration.
Yep.
Thank you. Oh, and one point other too, that I'm going to mention. When I was going through all the legal bills, and I know that we have invoice, but I know that Brian, your company, puts them all together, so we pay basically from one gathering. So I saw the similarities, that we don't just pay from one invoice, sometimes they gather them. So just point of reference. Thank you.
Quick question.
Yes, go ahead.
So, Trustee Broderick, I see you pulled several items tonight. It's almost 10 p.m. And my understanding is you asked for all of the questions that for the items you pulled, you've already asked for these, you've
This is-
already emailed
This is
questions?
the next agenda item, though. We're not here yet. We're still on 3.1.
Correct. Did you ask for all these questions ahead of time to get answers?
Not this one, not the ones that are on the thing that I pulled.
Why not?
I didn't ask for this.
Right, but why didn't you ask before the meeting to
No,
have your questions
I
answered?
want to bring one thing out on each, I can do them all together, if that's what you want.
Yeah, just to expedite it, because people need to get some rest.
Well, we're going to have to pull them up individually. We can't group pulled items, correct?
You could.
Your discussion could, but you'd have to make a motion on each one.
Yes.
So, I mean, they each have to be handled individually.
Okay.
Okay,
Don't
so
worry,
we're still on
I'm willing to
3.1.
go through them fast.
No, we're still on 3.1. We haven't taken a vote on that yet.
Right.
Any other questions on 3.1, listing of bills?
No, I just want to say thank you for the response. Karen.
Thank
You're
you.
very welcome, very welcome.
Thank you for that detail.
And I believe we're ready for the vote, Karen?
Trustee Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Mahalik?
Yes.
Trustee Broderick?
Yes.
Trustee Harris?
Yes?
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Queenie?
Yes.
Trustee Bazinski?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 3.2.3, the bid to repaid or prepaid fuel card purchases. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Just a question I'm inquiring about. We had the foundation that used to do this. Are we assuming and continuing to do this for the identifications of what you're doing for all this stuff that the?
These are funded through a grant, this
Okay, then
particular one.
I'm good. Never mind. Thank you.
So end the discussion. We'll take a vote on 3.2.3.
Trustee Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Harris?
Yes.
Trustee Broderick?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Mahalik?
Yes.
Trustee Queenie?
Yes.
Trustee Bazinski?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 3.2.7, sole source Alpha Media. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, my concern is this bill went up $4,800. Is it allocated in the budget? And what's our return on investment in doing this? Because when I see that we're approving, we went from 63 to 68. That's why I questioned too, Brian, all those bills, because now we're doing a lump sum of a contract amount. It seems like this is a contractual amount. Why aren't we approving everyone monthly?
Because under the revolving fund policy that this board has adopted, they can, if it's pursuant to a contract and the contract terms require payment at a certain time, that can be handled out of the revolving fund. It doesn't need to come back here for approval each time it's paid.
So are we paying these the same amount every month then? Because it looks as though we are.
I can't answer that question. I have to look into it. Do you know, Kelly?
Trustee Broderick, let me have Kelly Roder-Tonelli come up to the podium.
I can follow up on that specific question on billing. As you can imagine, we have a lot of things go through that
I know. I would
we
appreciate.
manage and are detailed, but I want to make sure I give you the right information. But just, I want to be clear for Alpha Media specifically. We do use that for new initiatives as well as existing initiatives like radio ads and radio spots that you have all just mentioned tonight that you've heard. But one of the things that we're doing that we've actually increased for FY25 is a geofencing initiative for students who have applied to JJC but not yet registered. So Alpha Media provides a very diverse set of initiatives and platforms for us that wouldn't necessarily be described there.
And then Kelly, they say that they can give us the numbers of showing what's come out of it. Can you obtain that information so that we can see what the local support is from them? Because it says they support 525 and they can give us information regarding.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I thought you might have some detailed questions. So in lieu of a full update on marketing communications, which I know I've given you before, these are updated numbers.
Oh, good.
For all of the platforms.
Thank you.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Thank you for being proactive.
Thank you.
MySpace.
Oh, good, yeah, this does answer my questions then.
MySpace, everyone else accounts.
I'm good with my questions then.
And on that, you'll see the stations that support, that Alpha Media supports.
Thank you.
Any other conversation on 3.2.7? Excuse me. We can take a vote, Karen?
Trustee Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Queenie?
Yes.
Trustee Broderick?
Yes.
Trustee Harris?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Mahalik?
Yes.
Trustee Bazinski?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Trustee Broderick, on the items pulled, 3.2.9, .10, .11, and .12, are they all part of this information we just received?
Well, I'm curious in regards to the increase, because I'm looking at some of them that have gone up exorbitantly, like the one for Google went up 40,000, and the one for Facebook went up 10,000, considerable amounts. I'm just asking for some type of capturing of what we're doing with that. You need a motion, Melanie?
Need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
So we have to vote on each one individually?
Individually, yeah.
Okay.
I'm going only with the first one, which is the 3.2.
3.2.9.
You know what, I didn't bring, which one is that?
Facebook?
Facebook, okay.
Facebook. It went
So-
up 10,000.
Yeah, yes, it did. And so actually, all of these that you've pulled are the same, and I can explain why we've increased those. And I want to preface what I'm going to say with, this is all reallocation of existing dollars that have not been increased in 8 years. So if you look back at our budget 10 years ago, let me say this, digital complemented our print efforts. It's completely reversed now. And when you look at our FY24 into FY25 budget, we now spend 77% of our dollars on digital outreach as opposed to 23% in print. And that's intentional because that's where people are. And all the platforms that we use that you see in those packets, Spotify, Chicago Billboards, Unidos, Telemundo, HubSpot, Alpha Media, Facebook, Google, those are all platforms that comprise part of that 77%.
Okay, thank you for your
Yep.
explanation.
Are we able to vote on 3.2.9? Karen, can you take a vote, please?
Trustee Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Harris?
Yes.
Trustee Broderick?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Mahalik?
Yes.
Trustee Queenie?
Yes.
Trustee Bazinski?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 3.2.10, sole source Google Award, or Google AdWords.
So moved.
Second.
And then my question, Kelly, again, was it went up 40,000. I was looking for support of why it went up so much, because it looked like we had a 2-year contract, now we're entering another 2-year contract. Are we getting a return on investment? I see what you presided for me on this, but I'm also looking to see for 40,000, that was a significant increase.
Yeah, so I want to call your attention to the documentation, the increase in click-through rates that we've talked about here together in the past. All of those have more than doubled and are double the national average rate. So they are an incredible return on investment for building awareness and call to action for students to be interested in JJC and bring them through our doors.
And it looks like they reached about 670,000
Yes,
more.
they're incredible numbers.
Okay, I see that with Google, and I see, like with Facebook, it lessened, so they're going more towards the Google than they are the Facebook.
I would say for our budget, yes. And remember, we're talking to 6 different, demographics. We're talking to returning adult students, we're talking to traditional students, we're driving event campaigns, major ones like Discover JJC, the job fair, just to name a few. The other thing that I want to call to your attention between Facebook and Google and increases in those, again, I want to emphasize reallocation, not new dollars. We have other departments now who recognize the efficacy of these platforms and who work through us and with us and spend dollars out of their budgets to support programming. So a good example of that would be Kids College, anything continuing education related. You see the catalogs that come through. Maybe we want to do a Google ad to support something like that.
Okay.
I'm just gonna do a repeat back what I heard. So earlier I heard Karen Kissel talk about the Google ads and how they were, we have different ones, right? So you're telling me, so we have, and that click rate is every time they get up to that $500, then it just recycles, right? So we're able to keep an eye on exactly what ads. So is it just kind of safe to say that we have maybe more Google ads out there than Facebook ads to be jumping up that 40,000?
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
part of that, is the amount of ads and the fact that those are click-based versus Facebook is just kind of scrolling, right?
Facebook is also click-through rate as well.
It is click-through rate as well, okay.
You know,
Oh, interesting.
my opinion is in Facebook's kind of for
Going.
our generation a little bit
Yeah.
more
Right.
Snapchat
Hey, watch
and some
it.
of this
Hey,
for-
it's so good for the
for that.
old
So it's gonna be lessening a little bit, so I think that's, we're pulling that out a little bit, so.
I agree.
Thanks for the report, Kelly, I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
Kelly, I have a question. It says here that we use the AdWords for Spanish and English. Is the Spanish, did we just add that, or we've always done that?
We've done that for quite some time, and we've had really great success with Unidos Marketing. We've worked with them, 5 to 7 years off the top of my head, and with the same kind of engagement, impression success that is mentioned in the packets that I provided. The other new thing that we've done in the last 5 years is shift and invested more money in Telemundo. And so, for an example, we increased, again, a reallocation of dollars, just $3,000, to Telemundo because the Summer Olympics are going to be televised, and so we're going to, knowing that those are highly watched events, you'll see JJC commercials run during the Summer Olympics.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kelly.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion on 3.2.10? Karen, you can take the vote.
Trustee Harris?
Yes.
Trustee Mahalik?
Yes.
Trustee Bradrick?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Queenie?
Yes.
Trustee Bazinski?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 3.2.11, sole source HubSpot. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I'm ready to vote on it. I don't need a discussion on this since you presented.
Ready for the vote, Karen?
Trustee Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Mahalik?
Yes.
Trustee Bradrick?
Yes.
Trustee Harris?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Queenie?
Yes.
Trustee Bazinski?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 3.2.12, sole source Telemundo Chicago.
Motion.
Second.
Once again, Cal, this went up 13,000. I'm glad to see that we're hitting the Hispanic environment. I'm glad to see that. Are we doing anything to identify our HSI on this at all? That we have achieved that we are now a Hispanic servicing center?
Oh, for the
Institution, yeah.
the Olympic commercials, that might be a good idea.
This would be more of our general awareness. We exist, you can take classes here, here's all the opportunities. We have many other pipelines of opportunity to create awareness for HSI, but I wouldn't say that our commercials would be, at least right now, the place that we would do that.
Okay, and what was the need for the increase on this? Did it increase, oh, it increased 94% then? On the last
Are you
page.
talking about the engagement increase, or, there's no cost?
Kelly, she has her hand up, I think.
Robin, come on up. Please come up to the podium. Thank you.
So the last time that the contract came to the board, it was to put commercials on for the fall semester enrollment and for spring semester enrollment. And we decided that summer is equally important, and so we're now running ads for the summer enrollment. So that's why you see that large increase, is because we're doing all 3 semesters.
Oh, because it only says this will air 6 weeks before fall and 6 spring semesters.
It should be,
So it
make
should
that
say
change.
summer in it
Yes,
then.
including summer.
All right, so maybe we should have corrected to add
Yeah,
summer then.
sorry for that error.
Thank you.
Any other questions on 3.2.12?
No questions, just a minute. She was just so excited to have an answer. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, so.
Karen, can you take the vote?
Trustee Mahalik?
Yes.
Trustee Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Bradrick?
Yes.
Trustee Harris?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Queenie?
Yes.
Trustee Bazinski?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 3.4, Financial report. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, on page, oh, there is no page, it's 3, under the section 3.
There's a little page on the upper
there's no
right, you'll
page.
see 3.4, and a little 9 underneath.
Yeah,
underneath the
it's
thing.
under revenues and under expenditures, and I had asked about this because I see that the operating levy, we got in more than what we expected so far, and it explains it here. And then I saw that the education operations, the expenses are down too. So my thought was, can we do anything to reduce anything with tuition? And I know Karen gave me a response, but Karen, please just help me out on this one. Sorry.
I'm
Karen,
sorry.
she's talking about the expenditures and revenues, and the revenues are,
Yeah, because when we're looking at the revenues and we're looking at the
Oh, but-
expenditures on 3.4, the financial report that was provided, it shows that slightly exceeded our budget, so we had more income so far. And then it says that we were under budget on the education fund at 75.32% of budget expenditures, and operation O&M was at 6308. So we're under budget at only 77.29.
you go ahead, but I think we're not gonna be under budget a lot, because isn't the summer months paid out June 30th, and so they pay throughout the summer for the pay periods? Is that part of the reason? Because don't we,
We also talked about the fact that this year our revenue was a little bit higher because CPPRT, our interest income, we've had some open positions that have been open, but we're also increasing salaries. We've got the task union negotiation going on. We've got other expenses coming down the pike. So while it may look like we have excess revenue, we really are, balancing our budget and meeting those needs.
No,
And
I
we're
know,
making
but-
strategic initiatives.
When you see this in print, you have to question, because if we're having more income coming in and less expenses, is there something we did, or is there something we're anticipating? Okay, I understand the increase, but aren't we also increasing our numbers in our budget then for that?
In what way? What do you mean?
Well, when you look at the income that we're gonna get, when you look at what we get for real estate taxes and that, and we're estimating all of this for next year, we're still gonna get money coming in from the tax levy that we do in this following spring, correct?
Yes, and basically, that's what's factored in here and recognized as revenue now. And yes, it's coming in a little bit over our current year budget. That's been revised to be in the starting point for next year's budget.
Okay, so you revised that part?
Yes.
then? Okay, then I'm fine with
Yeah.
that then. I just wanted to make sure when I'm looking at this and I'm looking at the positives and, I want to make sure that we're staying within and not over exceeding ourselves.
No, agreed. And I guess you look at, especially from, we're looking good from, like I said, the revenue side. The expenditure side, a lot of that it's a lot of vacancies on positions that are open for a while. It's only a savings for that time period when it's not filled. So, that's where we get into, and usually at the June meeting, we have the couple resolutions to kind of transfer surplus funds over to O&M restricted, that they can be used for one-time purchases, basically capital-related items.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Karen.
Any other discussion? Karen, can you take the vote on 3.4?
Trustee Harris?
Yes.
Trustee Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Broderick?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Mahalik?
yes.
Trustee Queenie?
Yes.
Trustee Buzinski?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 3.5, Board of Trustee approval of resolution to adopt tentative fiscal year 2024 through 2025 budget and placement of the budget on public display.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
And you guys did listen to suggestions that we had, correct, in regards to budget issues? I see the president shaking his head.
President's nodding his head, let the record show.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Karen, can you take a vote, please?
Trustee Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Harris?
Yes.
Trustee Broderick?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Mahalik?
Yes.
Trustee Queenie?
Yes.
Trustee Buzinski?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 4.1, first reading of board policies. So I'm going to start by agreeing with you on 4.1.2, 011100 under trustee development. We need to remove the chair's discretion. And Karen and Dr. Newell will both tell you, I constantly ask for my position to be removed.
You've talked to me about that too. That's one of the reasons I pointed it
Yeah,
out. Because
I don't
you've
agree with the
asked-
chair having that kind of authority in any policy whatsoever. So that one will definitely, and you'll be able to take that back to Karen, why that shouldn't be there. Other than choosing committees, the rest of these things should not be chair's discretion, should be the board's discretion. So I agree
Yes,
with you.
Thank you.
Under the trustee development budget, trustee development is trustee development regardless of standing. So I would like to see, as you asked, to remove good standing from the trustee development budget. Regarding trustee under good standing, at any time, there can be a motion to restore somebody to good standing. We don't have a separate.
I just feel like we need that in the good standing policy then. Then in order, at the very bottom, there needs to be an extra clause. And I also do not agree, I think that we can go with we're going with the state statute for everything else. It would be my recommendation that we go with the state statute for the good standing and that not to put excess requirements on us. Nancy also agreed, you were at the meeting, that are extra excess for all of the retreats and for us to miss any of those, that's not Illinois state standards. I think that if we're gonna go across the board and stay by Illinois state standards.
So you're on the absence.
And the absences for the committee meetings, the retreats and all of that, I look at, Nancy's not here tonight, and I may know she probably called in and has an excused absence, but as elected officials who are unpaid, I feel like this is putting undue pressure on all of us, and I feel like it's gonna cause us to possibly be looking at like, oh, do we have to put her in not good standing because she's not here? I just don't wanna see that, you know?
Yes.
And I think that we're being a little bit, it's a little bit much on those areas, so those are the two things, just a clause of how to get out of good standing, only board meetings per Illinois state statute as far as the attendance requirements to take you out of good standing. Jake has small children, I have small children. We have a lot going on and it's hard, we have missed, I think, some retreats before.
I was gonna put Nancy not in good standing for not being here tonight, so I was gonna motion for that later, so. So I understand, no, everyone has things come up, so, but I think the.
Are we okay removing absence from good standing policy?
I am okay with that.
Yeah.
Yes. So you can take that back to the committee and.
So all of these that have the good standing can go back to the committee then? As you-
Yeah, because we're
Well,
gonna change
she wants a
outstanding.
definition of a
Add
board can remove somebody or can restore good standing.
Right.
We want to remove the absence portion of it. We want to remove anything that gives the chair discretion on events, attendance, and anything like that.
Any of the ones with good standing.
Okay. And
We
then
gotta
you're,
fix that.
and then you're good with the consultant services?
No, I wanted to talk about that one. I don't believe any of us, I've brought this back and forth, had ever agreed on a money amount. I don't know where that came from in that policy. Karen, can you remind me? Because I do not remember seeing that. I do not remember discussing that. And I want to go look at my policy stuff and see if that is actually what we looked at that meeting, because I do not recall that.
I don't know who asked for it to be included, but someone in the meeting asked for it to be included. We'd have to go back to the meeting.
That's what I'm saying. I can't remember off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
I can't remember off the top of my head either. I
personally don't feel
apologize.
comfortable with that money amount. I think that if we're gonna have a contract for consulting services, it should be across the board. It shouldn't matter how much that contract is for. There shouldn't be a money about it. We need to have a, appropriate contract for anything. It doesn't matter the money amount. I am not sure why that was. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
To be determined, just put it in there.
To be determined? No
Case by-
money amount, right?
Case by case, so.
Okay, so you guys think that the money amount should come off too, or what's your thoughts on that? I think that anything should have an appropriate agreement, not just something over $25,000. I don't
Okay.
know why that amount got put in there. So.
Okay. Okay.
So the only one is the sale, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, I'll wait.
I was just gonna say the only one that I'm really comfortable going through, because we need to fix the, good standing and, is the sale and disposal of college property. I think we've gone through that one enough. I think that one can actually go through, but Lord. But did you have questions on the?
Well, actually, I have a question on 1.41.00. I noticed the development is striked out. Did I miss that? Did I miss something?
Right, so
Why is that?
We changed it. This one is now the trustees' travel budget, and we separated them, and the other one is the development budget now. So that's why I really wanted you to take a look at these policies and read through what they are now incorporating.
Okay, the combination.
So this is the development budget.
Okay.
And then this is a travel budget, and we have separated them now, so
Okay.
they're not under one thing.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you.
No.
So sale disposal of college property is gonna move to second read next meeting, okay? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on policies? 4.2, approval to transfer $500 to the student trustee travel funds from trustee Budzinski's account to cover the estimated final fiscal year overage.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Yes.
I worked out all the numbers, and I am concerned that I'd like to know, first of all, why we're doing the 500 and why we didn't reserve some money from the student trustee that was previous, knowing that we had a trustee come in. So I think there should be some reservation that the previous one shouldn't take and go over, because she went over $21.52, which leaves Ryan with nothing. I'm asking, what's the purpose of the 500? Where did that come from?
So there's more expenses gonna show up. He still has some more obligations.
Okay.
So one of the issues we have is his serving year does not match the budget year. And I agree, we didn't adjust
Right.
trustee Ellis's account either. And that's gonna be a shame on us,
Well, I'm just bringing-
nothing he has done, so.
Well, no, and I understand that. And then, going back, and here's my concern. I would rather change the motion to say from the general fund, because if the things were put in the right categories, and I'll say this, I'll read what I wrote. All accounts listed, I had subtracted and added for the ICCTA rep and the delegate, and the national, all the summits and everything. The end result is that the chair and the vice chair are only allowed if they're ICCTA reps and ICCTA delegates, which they weren't. So if we look at that, Jim and board, we really need to take it out of the general fund and not say your account, because your account, if we moved everything back to where it should have been, subtracted from you, you'd be in a negative. So I think we should amend it by saying from the general fund that we give him the $500, because there's 19,000 and some sitting in the general fund that I saw. And I would like to see that we would redo that, restate it, because there's 19,513 instead of having it moved, because these numbers, were never approved or anything, they were just put together. I think the motion should be coming from the general fund, that we have it on the budget.
Is this from this fiscal year or next fiscal year?
This fiscal.
This fiscal
Why don't we
year.
just make the motion to pull it from mine, since
Well, that's what she's saying. She doesn't want to do that. She wants to pull it out of general fund
General
instead of
fund.
yours or mine.
Because really, honestly, there was nothing ever approved for all these little funds, that we
Right.
had.
Yeah.
I think if we just say, I understand that he needs the funds, that he doesn't have anything, but I think if we say, let's amend it to take it from the general fund, because none of these allocations, if I have a printout if everybody wants to see it, but I redid all the numbers, and both Diane and Michelle would have positive balance in their accounts, because those things should have been deducted either from the ICCTA or the ACCT, because they are the delegate and the representative that should have had it deducted out of there. If we do it from the general fund, we don't have to worry about anything. Let's just say the general fund.
Can I make the motion? Did I make the motion?
Motion's out.
I thought.
No, who made the
Trustee-
motion?
Who made it? Did I make it?
Who made the motion?
I think-
Somebody made it.
I
You
did.
have to.
I have trustee Lee.
Okay, then you need to amend it then.
Okay, motion to amend, where is it at? Let me read it.
4.2.
4.2. Okay, motion to amend 4.2.
You're not making a motion to amend, you're amending your motion.
Okay, I'm amending my motion. Thank you. I'm amending the motion for 4.2, approval to transfer 500 to student trustee travel funds from trustee Budzinski. That will be changed to the general fund.
The General Trustee Development Fund.
The general trustee development fund account to cover the estimated final fiscal year overage.
And who seconded?
Trustee Morales.
You still second it?
Second.
And we can call for a vote.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Broderick?
Yes.
Trustee Harris?
Yes.
Trustee Mahalik?
Yes.
Trustee Queenie?
Yes.
Trustee Buzinski?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 4.3, board approval of legal counsel for the college.
So moved.
Second?
So were we going to amend the way this was written?
Oh, yeah, we're going to add that we're board
So-
approval to add legal counsel for the college.
So who did the original motion?
Michelle?
I'll
did.
amend it.
So,
Okay.
Board approval to add.
I don't have that green sheet in front of me. Here it is. I got it. Okay. So I'm amending the motion to add additional legal counsel for the college. Board approval of additional legal counsel for the college.
Second.
Trustee Broderick had already seconded.
Oh, okay.
So you have to second my.
Oh, second. Sorry.
It's okay.
I thought you did. It's a long name.
and are we ready to vote on this?
Yes.
Karen, can you call the vote, please?
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Broderick?
Yes.
Trustee Harris?
Yes.
Trustee Mahalik?
Yes.
Trustee Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Queenie?
Yes.
Trustee Buzinski?
No. Item 5.
Motion carries, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Item 5, 5.1, student trustee report. Ryan Queenie?
Hi, yes. So okay. Now, do you want to stay sitting?
We'd prefer you at the podium, but
Okay.
the comfort level, if you're comfortable there.
I do need a clicker, yeah.
There's one up here.
All right, so we have reached the fun part of the meeting where I get to give a report, and it's probably going to be different than how Aisha's report was. Give me grace tonight, and it will get better over time, I promise. Thank you. Yeah, I did pick that picture in particular. That was the first time I came to President's Cabinet, and the day we left for the Illinois Community College Trustee Association's conference in Springfield, which I'll talk more about later. So yeah, so in the last few months, there's been a lot on campus, especially April and May with the end of the year. Everybody's trying to wrap up, get things done. So a lot of what we're talking about today is just events and what students have been engaging with and how we've been, just utilizing the spaces on campus. So of course, with the Office of Student Activities, they had their Road to Reality event, which was just fantastic, which I'll talk more about in a bit. The Wellness Fair, they put together the Empty Bowls Project, which I'm sure some of you have heard about and even participated in the past few years. Then they did also Stress Relief Week, and they did their PB&J and puppies, which I'm sure you've heard of that event. That's
fun.
Big favorite event for students on campus. Then there was also, and we talked about this earlier, but just to highlight it again, sustainability has been doing a lot of great work on campus this last month. Of course, we talked about the Repair Cafe, which Chair Budzinski, he was there, and we got to see each other then. And it was just, it's really helped, especially with, changing the way our college operates in sustainable ways, and I'll talk more about that later. But then they also did their Humboldt Road community cleanup, where they engaged local businesses to help get the road more, to clean the road up more and get it more, eco-friendly for everybody involved. And then also departments and clubs, and I feel like there's things in here that aren't listed on this first slide, so bear with me. But natural sciences, they had their tree naming ceremony to name the bur oak tree on the nature trail after Richard Tex Rivera, who was the head of building and roads and the superintendent of that department for a long time. Then Pride Alliance, we had our Pride Prom / Gala again for this year, which I think that'll put us at, I know this will be my 4th one planned with them, 3rd one hosted. So they've been doing that for a while. Disability Awareness Club, which Dr. Namu mentioned earlier, they helped organize the open gym with Dr. Namu playing the wheelchair basketball. And, you know, I won't go too much into that because I think you covered it extensively earlier. But then also this last month, there was the JJC Fine Arts Department for the community band concert, which was just a wonderful thing to experience. It was their 45th anniversary, and I have more information about that later too. So yeah, sustainability, and a lot of this is pictures, I'm sorry, not sustainability, student activities. But so, I have a few pictures, not great pictures of the wellness fair at the top there. Then some road to reality pictures where they had the one scene in the outdoor section of it where you were walking through, since it was interactive theater experience with the JJC Fine Arts Department. But they had the person being extricated from the car to show, what happens after you've been in that accident. How does that process go? And just kind of, it was just a great illustrative experience for the students to have, and it just really helped highlight the perils of intoxicated and distracted driving for all students and college students alike. So then we also had the wellness fair, and that was a great event on campus where we had over 200 students who were able to participate in it this year to kind of come and learn more about local community resources through their local service offices. The health department was there. There was just so many great it's one of my favorite events on campus. I love that they have all these different groups come in and just promote wellness for our students, make sure they're leading healthy and, holistic lives. Yeah. All right, so then there was also, and we're gonna have another picture of empty bowls come up later because I accidentally put it in the wrong spot. But we had an empty bowls project come up this year again, which is just a great event on campus to help, it's with OSA, Fine Arts, JJ Alumni Relations and Foundation. Then the culinary department also helps raise donations through this event to fight food insecurity on campus that our students face. And it's just, I just, again, thank you to everyone who's been involved with all these events over the last month. So yeah, then we also had more sustainability, which I told you I was going to talk a little more about. But yes, they had the Humboldt Road cleanup, which I couldn't find a date for, and I'm sorry I didn't tell you dates for other things because I do have all those. But then that was an event where they worked with, so I found out from Ash, there were 19 volunteers in total who did all that day, which is just, I think about how big Humboldt Road is and think 19 people, that would take hours. Mm-hmm. So I'm just impressed and thankful that they do that and keep that event going and keep the road into the college clean. And then also, they had their Earth Day celebration on the 22nd this last month, which I think that was probably one of the biggest days on campus. That 22nd, because that was also the day of the wheelchair basketball and other events that have been hosted. But that event really engaged with all the students, faculty, and staff on campus, gave people the opportunity to come and celebrate Earth Day, celebrate the sustainable initiatives on campus, celebrate our science departments that are researching these methods and doing work to make this a more sustainable planet for everybody. And it was just a great event to have on campus, and it was out in the, where is it, Picnic Grove? I'm sorry, it's so late. But Picnic Grove area, which is just, if you've ever been on campus, you've seen there. It's a beautiful place to just go relax, hang out, and it's just very peaceful. But then also, yes, Repair Cafe, which, great event. Oh my goodness. I think they said a lot about it earlier. Bear with me, because, I think one thing, I don't know if I heard it earlier, but it's important. That event really helped actionize a circular economy to reduce the number of items being put into landfills every day and helped, create a space for people to bring their broken items, get them fixed for free, and help connect to our community and make sure that people know who to, because I know there are people who I was volunteering that day, and I had some people who I was sewing things for, and I'm like, all right, this might not be perfect, here's my email. If it comes apart, reach out, we can fix it. That's not hard. But yeah. It was just big, again, thanks to Ash Klinder, Sean Miller, Maria Anna Rafak, and Stephanie Braun, and everybody else involved with organizing just that wonderful event, getting JJC registered as an international repair cafe, and just really helping accelerate our sustainable climate here on campus. So yeah, then we had our student clubs and organizations, and there's that empty bowls picture, if you see it in the corner up there. That's not supposed to be there, but I couldn't figure out how to move it last night. So Disability Awareness Club, they had the wheelchair basketball event, which I think we heard a lot about that earlier, so I won't go too much into detail, but I think it's just awesome to, I didn't know that they had the, what was the name of the group that you said came in? Sorry.
And Karen would know, it's the
Yeah,
Lincoln Way Special Rec.
Recreation. I think that's
Association.
awesome. Because it really,
Yeah.
it really provided that chance and opportunity for our students who might not be aware of the different, disabilities that people face and how they can still live lives, and it helped provide educational space for people to learn, but also a space to break down stigmas that people might have about people with disabilities playing sports. And I thought that was just fantastic. I also, and I'm out of order a little bit, but so we'll go to, so then the next thing we had was the Pride Alliance Prom Gala, which I'm sure some of you have heard of that event before. It's a big event on campus. They hold it yearly. It's designed to create a safe space for all members of the LGBTQ plus community and otherwise to come and enjoy the evening, spend time just being their true authentic selves, not having to worry about, codes that might be outdated, or especially our students who came from high schools who might not be allowed to dress or go with who they exactly want to go with to prom. Or just, it's a great event to give people that redo chance, especially what we've heard a lot since COVID is people missed out on their prom experiences from COVID. They're very glad that they've had that in college to come and kind of fill that gap for them and make sure they still get that opportunity and chance. But then I also had an event, I put one together myself to meet with students before we went to lobby days in Springfield, just to kind of hear what the different issues students were facing on campus are. And I know one thing we talked a lot about was, food insecurity, which I know we have some things we're trying to get for that. And then also talking about transportation issues for students. So that's something I definitely want to look at with this board and see, all right, how do we provide transportation? How can we? Yeah. But then and then another thing we heard about was the housing insecurities with students, trying to find affordable near campus housing. And that's another great thing that I want to keep an eye on for students. But then just to kind of finish off here, our departmental events, and these are two very important events I feel like that would be important to call for this campus, was the the Burr Oak tree naming ceremony they had for Richard Tex Rivera, which was, he served on as the former superintendent of roads and grounds for JJC. Unfortunately, we lost Tex, and he passed away in 2020 due to COVID-19. So I know they've done a few. This was just another way that we felt that we could recognize his legacy and just the lasting impact he has had on students and faculty and everybody here at JJC. And then we also had another important event, the 45th annual JJC Community Band Concert, which, it's one of our 8 music ensembles we have here at the college. Now, this concert was also special because they did it in honor and dedication to Jerry Lewis, who was the conductor and founder of the community band when he founded it in 1979, and he served as conductor till 2004, coming back many times to, guest conduct and be there to support the band. It's made up of 95 musicians who live within the Joliet Junior College Community District. And this year's concert, as I said again, was dedicated to the memory of enduring influence of Jerry Lewis, and also they had a performance of Grace by Leroy Anderson and a trumpeter's lullaby, which was more of a piece they played for Jerry to just be respectful and honor his memory. But then, and then I have a few more things. So yeah, then ICCTA, which I know Trustee Lee, Trustee Broderick, and then Dr. Mole, we were all there together, and I know that was a busy couple days, but we had our legislative reception. I got to meet the governor, which now many of you don't know this. Some of you who were at the conference with me do. Meeting Governor Pritzker was actually a bucket list item for me. And it all stems back. My mother met him when she was on the Troy Middle School board, and they were interviewing for something or another, but I don't remember. But when she met him, I'm like, all right, I got to meet him too now. So it's been a bucket list item for several years, and I'm very glad that got to happen. We had several important meetings and started a lot of good conversations. We met with, and I think in the top corner there, you can see the picture with us with Natalie Manley, who's the House leader, I think. Yeah. But then we also met with Larry Walsh Jr., which is that top picture in the corner there. I'm sorry, it's not too well to see. Then we also met with I think Senator Lauren Capel. Thank you.
You're doing great. You got it.
Lauren Capel, yes. And then also Sue Resin, and then we had a chance to just kind of chat with Representative Riviera, and I didn't include the picture also of me and Senator Bennett, but he also was there and had that resolution for the dual credit 12x12, which was just wonderful. So yeah, then over this last month, we also, as all of you saw, we had the HSI proclamation at the City Hall meeting for Joliet, and that was great. It was given by Councilman Guerrero, who read the proclamation to recognize JJC for becoming an HSI, and it just was wonderful to see all the support there for us that night. And yeah. Oh, all right. So then we also, just last week, I'd be remiss not to call attention to our graduates and the nurses who were pinned this last year, and I did go through and count in the little booklet they gave me for the nurse pinning how many people were pinned, just because I couldn't find the number. So we had 1,029 total graduates, and of which 691 attended and walked at graduation this year. And then we also had 68 nurses who were pinned this year out of the nursing program, which is just incredible.
Beautiful ceremony.
So then, not too much is coming up in the coming months because we are here at summer. But I will also say summer classes have started. Our first session, I'm actually in classes myself for this first session, so I'm definitely got to start getting some homework done soon. But then they're also having a pop-up popcorn event at the D-Info desk on June 3rd. Then the ICCTA meeting and reception, I believe that's June 7th and 8th. I put the 7th because I think that's when I'll be there for all of it. But I will be attending that. And then also I was looking through the college's website. They'll be offering free HIV testing on June 12th, which is also my birthday.
Oh.
So.
Noted.
Yes, but then that's all I have. Any questions or?
Don't you think, and I know Dr. Namu mentioned this, when we had this many graduates, and because of COVID, don't you think the graduates, because they didn't get to do the things in the high school, this was more of an excitement for them to be there? Because it just looked like every one of them was just so anxious to walk the stage that they didn't get to do things with COVID. That I think this was exhilarating. So
my
kudos.
daughter would have loved the prom.
Oh, it's a great event. I hope they bring, I don't know, I'm not the president anymore. They'll bring it back next year though, so. Yes.
You mentioned something about travel or transportation.
Yes. So I think that a lot of our students now just feel a lot of the impact now of like the higher gas prices, which I know we have some of the programs to help reduce the cost of students for that, but also if students don't have access to vehicles and they're having to rely on somebody else for transport every day or having to call a friend, say, hey, can you pick me up and drive me to school? I want to find ways to help make sure that our students aren't worried about how they're going to get to school and if they're going to be able to get there on time, because if you don't catch the right bus, you're not getting to class that day.
I was going to say that, we have this deal with Pace, which is great and everything, but now with Uber and
It's
all
expensive.
Of these, but is there any way, like if we have a situation set up with Pace, for those people who are further out, like what he's saying, like I know personally from my house where I live at, it is 20 minutes to walk to the nearest bus stop. So, and I'm off Black Road, and it just so happens that because I haven't been here, I've had to Uber my daughter places because there is no option of taking public transportation, or she is literally walking 15 minutes in either direction for a bus. So just maybe a thought.
So the reason I wanted to bring that up, Trustee, is because Joliet Township government has a program that they are willing to partnership with other organizations, and JJC could be one of them, and it is also a partnership with PACE, but it serves the Joliet Township resident residents that
Okay.
live in Joliet Township. So I don't know if like Troy or Plainfield,
Yeah,
other townships
but
would
it-
have to have
you know, at
something.
least
But
that's-
it could help for those Joliet Township students where.
Because they're further out.
Yes.
Joliet Township
Correct.
services, Preston Heights, or not Preston Heights,
That's Joliet Township.
it is,
Mhm.
okay, I'm
Yep.
right, Preston
Yep.
Heights,
Mhm.
and I was gonna say, there's a few other
Yeah.
ones that are pretty remote over there by that park,
Yeah.
that,
So I think if somebody from the college would reach out to Supervisor Angel Contreras, that's definitely
Yeah.
something that the township is willing to engage in those conversations to help our students, build that partnership to get our students transported here
Absolutely.
safely and efficiently.
Right, and I think also under the special needs, PACE does make accommodations, because my nephew has it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if they get the marketing, know that they can do that with-
Okay.
with that.
Yeah, we'll have to definitely set up some time
Thank
to
you.
chat and figure all that out. Make sure we can make sure students know about all of it and that.
it's
Yeah.
just gift cards maybe, I was
Yeah,
thinking for
that
like,
even.
Uber or Lyft, we give out gift cards for the food security for
Mhm.
like Aldi's, I think, and stuff, so maybe for those students who are further out, if we don't have that PACE option, maybe we could try to start offering some sort of gift cards for Uber or Lyft, maybe that would be an option, possibly.
Yeah, I'm just pausing because I
I
think
don't
we
know.
do that right
We
now.
do? Okay.
Yeah, so let me loop back on that one.
Right, one more thing.
Yes.
Want to catch you before you go?
We do. Okay.
And I don't want to beat up any more the repair clinic, but I had asked you who the one student was who was sewing and helping everyone.
Oh, yeah.
There was a girl named Erica. I just wanted to call her out. She was
Yes.
just great to
She
all
was
the people. Two quick stories. She had, we talked about sentimental values. The one girl was there, it was a
Yeah.
lady, had an oven mitt. And you thought, well, why don't you just go buy a new one? This oven mitt had been in her kitchen when she was growing up, so it had been there for 40-some, 60-some years, and it was very important to her. Eric commended that, and then there was one gentleman that had an original pair of Air Jordans
Yeah.
that had all started falling apart, so Erica repaired them, basically told them that you can't play on these, this glue will not hold, and he says, no, these are going right back on a shelf. So those are two things that,
Yeah.
but it was a
No,
girl named
absolutely.
Erica, and I just wanted to call her out. because,
Yeah.
And I had Ryan at that time, I didn't know who she was, and he went and found
Yeah.
out who she was, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, we can clap for her. 5.2, we will not have a representative to the JJC Foundation tonight. 5.3, representative to the ICCTA, ACCT. Michelle?
Okay, so we went to Hobby Day, which I had the pleasure of getting to know Trustee Queenie, and I got this right this time, you're gonna be proud of me. He was such a gentleman. He opened the door for us everywhere we went. I think, I just honestly, I just had to compliment you on that and get that one right this time.
Yes.
So just wanted to give a shout out to Trustee Queenie and being able to get to know him on that trip. We were able to see, as he already stated, a few of the reps. I think, the college went there with some of its initiatives of things to speak about. Some of the things that we're looking towards, like 12 by 12 by 12 dual credit, line electric deal, and those type of things. I think we went to go see Meg Capel, and she said, you've been really quiet, Trustee Lee. If she gave a magic wand question to Ryan, and then she said, you've been really quiet. You haven't said anything. If you had a magic wand, what would you do? And at that point in time, the reason I was so quiet is I had something so heavy on my heart from a memo that was given to us at the previous board meeting of some things going on here. So I was telling every single one of our state reps about this situation and just how heavy it was on my heart. And so I really appreciated Meg Capel and her magic wand question of if we had a magic wand, the things that we could possibly fix. And I told her what I would fix. But we only got to see 4 representatives, and Trustee Broderick got to see all 17. So I will give her the remaining of my 5 minutes to talk about all of the reps she got to see.
Well, May 1st was great. We had over 100 trustees attend. We had our ICCTA meeting, but we also had where the trustees and the presidents met for the Illinois Community College Caucus reception, which was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And yes, some of us got to be positioned to be up there to thank the governor, as our president has mentioned that I was able to get up there without any notice, as everybody else had. But the first thing I did say was that he should remember that JJC is number one, and that should be your biggest credit. And I thanked him for all of his, innovative desires and working with us to get things and being visionary for free tuition. So that went really well. And we had, I thought, a great evening. Pictures were taken with all of us and strategies of good networking going on. Then we also had, on the next day, we met with a couple of different issues, one of which was we reviewed the ICCTA 2024 state advocacies. Senate Bills 3787, which was the Community College Applied Baccalaureate Degree Program. It promotes equitable access and affords Illinoisans, particularly undeserved student populations and those in rural areas, greater access to higher education. And the community college of trustees must identify and document in writing the unmet workforce needs in the region. The Board of Trustees must demonstrate how the baccalaureate degree program will demonstrate and improve racial and social economic equity in student access, enrollment, completion by focusing outreach to all of the students to meet workforce needs. And we had to do more things with regards to that, which are in that bill. They also mentioned Senate Bill 467, and 467 was by Castro, common course numbering, which means now a common course will streamline our transfers, as I had mentioned before when we talked about that the courses will now be identified that they can transfer without any hesitation and problems like sometimes they did before. And by 2027, the system will extend to major courses, ensuring uniformity and clarity for all students. The other House bill was House Bill 5020, and that one was, hold on, 5020, dual credit. So let me get back to dual credit. Bear with me. They had some obstacles that they talked about with dual credit, but the concern was more so, and this was by Blair, Sherlock, and Castro. Dual credit allows high school students to earn community college credits in high school when college courses are taught by high school teachers. There are advantages and disadvantages they identified. And the advantages were that, yes, we are the ones that should be working on it, but sometimes it's more the high school that's taking control of it, as I shared with Amy. So that was something that was brought up, and it was very explicit when it was discussed. And we had Senator Mike Halpin there. He introduced the educational, he's on the Higher Education Committee. He gave a good opening speech to all of us at our morning meeting. And then, bear with me, we also had the ability to go and visit all of our lobbyists, all of our legislators. And you were right,
It wasn't Meg Capella
Meg Capella?
that gave me
she's a senator.
the magic wand question. It was the other one.
Was it Sue Resin?
No.
No.
Natalie Manley.
Natalie's the one that
I
does.
had to give the shout out to the right person with the magic wand question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm like, I think I got that wrong. I'm like, literally thinking about your pictures. Thank you, Ryan.
Well, I got to share this with you. The four of them went to see the representatives, and yeah, I've seen all of them. I got around to all of them. The topic came up, and they were very impressed with Michelle, because Natalie Manley was the one that was the first one to tell me, as well as Meg and Sue Resin and Larry Walsh, that they were impressed with the questions you asked and your concerns that you had, because they also share the same concerns. So I got a hot box of information right away. I was supporting the same things, but when that came up, I listened to what they had to say, and it was intriguing to see how their support is definitely what Michelle's position was, and I'll leave it at that. And then I was impressed. We went to the gallery, and Senator State Rep Harry Benton did a 12 by 12 by 12 promotion for our proclamation of JJC, which we were all excited about. And then we also had Senator D. Avalar and Anthony DeLuca, state rep, both of those state reps, gave special recognition for us being there for Lobby Day. And they also had, which I thought was great too, was the Police Veteran Memorial that they celebrated, and they had the guns go off. And I don't know if any of you got to see it, but we stood there the whole time. It was phenomenal. All the vets were there. All of our state reps were out there watching everything. It was really great. And then just a couple of things to note, that we do have ACCT awards nominations that are due by June 3rd. Tomorrow, there's a Zoom call on with ACCT from 2 to 3 on who's eligible and what are they eligible for and how to do it. So if anybody is looking to submit anybody for the ACCT, they have that. And then on June 7th, as you mentioned, we have the annual convention up in Lombard. And this is really a cool thing to be at. I mean, we have nominees that were nominated to get for awards. And it's my last big formal one that I get to give as the president of the ICCTA. So I'm looking forward to support of you guys coming. And I'm excited about that. And Ryan, you can stay for both days, 7th and the 8th. And then I did share with you about return of investment too that we talked about. The total economic output of Illinois community colleges on the statewide economy in fiscal year 2020, and this is 2020, was estimated at 3.5 million and 43,316 jobs. This tells you the influence of what the community colleges have. And it says Illinois community colleges meet the needs of business and industry. We support local workforce, economic development, service through employer and business engagement. And during the academic year of 2020, Illinois community colleges worked with nearly 9,800 employers. That's phenomenal. And I think the return on investment, I mentioned what the increase in salary was for both the African American and Latinos. I think this is especially important that we identify all the things, because we are a key to the development for certifications, for workforce, for getting people into the workforce market. And I'm excited to be a part of that. And thank you.
Item 5.4, trustee updates. Trustee Harris, do you have any updates?
Yeah, I just want to say a couple of things. First of all, I want to thank the Finance Committee for adding additional $500 to that trustee budget. We appreciate that. That'll go a long way when we need to go on events. And then also, I wanted to say that I attended my first nurses pinning, and I really, really enjoyed it. It was really, really nice. And lastly, I'm looking forward to the camp that you're going to hold here, especially for the middle school. When my kids were little, they went to camp at the University of St. Francis, and I was always excited, more excited than they were, because I wanted to find out what they learned. And the one year, my son went to the forensic science, so that was really exciting. So I'm looking forward to that when you guys roll that out. But anyway, thank you very much for your time.
Trustee Lee?
No, it's
Trustee Broderick?
The only comment I want to make is I know that we had the report that everybody went to Kentucky for the AACC meeting, and I know I'd asked if we could have something put up by the group that went. If we can't do that, and I know that I had asked for it and it was declined, can we at least have something that tells us what was brought, whether it be Dr. Namul giving us a short summary of what we gained from it? Because we did spend a lot, and we as trustees always like to learn what you guys have learned when you go to these seminars. So if we could have something, that would be my suggestion. Thank you.
Trustee Morales?
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to everybody for a great job on the graduation. A lot of work. It was very efficient. And I'm looking forward to a great summer. So thank you, everybody.
Trustee Mahalik?
I want to echo Trustee Morales' thank you on everything, and thank you to all the committees, and thank you to everyone who stayed here tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So, one last thing is Jerry Lewis was a great teacher here. Did many years here. Took a jazz class from him when I was in school here. Great guy. And Rich Rivera, man, great employee for many years. It's nice to see his son and his granddaughter in that picture as well. So that's all I have.
Trustee Queen?
I think I gave all the updates I had.
You're all done?
Report. It's all good.
I just have something real quick. I want to spend a lot of money. Trustee Morales and I were on stage, very impressed with how the students all got into the event center for graduation. The one thing that stood out to us, and we were requesting, since we were all in black robes, we had basically line monitors guiding the students into their chairs. Like ushers. Can we put them in a purple robe or something that stands out that makes them as formal as everyone else in the room? We just think it'd just be an awesome look that, you know.
I like that.
Some of them were in, you know, I mean, they're all in street clothes, and nothing with the way they were dressed, it's just we think it would look, you know, it would just add to the pizzazz.
More
a little bit.
formality.
Yes, if they were, you know, easily identifiable, probably with a different color, so. Doesn't have to be purple, just a different color than the black that we were all wearing, so.
It's probably going to be purple, Chairman.
Okay, and that's all the money I want to spend for tonight, so. Which gives us, or brings us to the next part, item number 6. So Chair requesting motion to go into closed session for discussion under 2C1 personnel, 2C2 unions, 2C5 real property.
So moved.
Second.
Ready to vote? Trustee Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Queenie?
Yes.
Trustee Broderick?
Yes.
Trustee Harris?
Yes.
Trustee Lee? Yes. Trustee Mahalik?
Yes.
Trustee Bazinski?
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, the motion is to return to public session. The vote, Trustee Mahalik?
Yes.
Trustee Broderick?
Yes.
Trustee Harris?
Yes.
Trustee Morales?
Yes.
Trustee Queenie?
Yes.
Trustee Bazinski?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion
Second.
to adjourn.
Voice vote?
Voice vote. All those
Aye.
in
Aye.
favor? All those opposed?
Nay.
At what time are we adjourning? 12:56.
12:56.